Over the past year, I've built and sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of AI chatbots to clients all over the world, most of which were built on no-code platforms. So in this course, I'm going to be teaching you absolutely everything that I know about building AI chatbots so that you can have the same sort of success as a freelancer, as a business owner, by utilizing this amazing new technology. Over the past year, I've been on hundreds of consulting calls and had hundreds of conversations with people within my Discord community. And I keep hearing the same question: where can I learn what you know? Unfortunately, I've never really had a good answer for them. There's no course, there's no degree, there's no one YouTube channel that has a beginner to expert resource for AI chatbot building until now. And so I'm creating this video as a public service, really, to provide a complete resource for people wanting to learn this new and valuable skill, to create a new source of income, to help grow their business, or just to come up to speed on the current state of this new and exciting technology. I've spent weeks preparing this content for you all, and what you're about to learn is the result of a year of trial and error in my own chatbot development journey. This video is the resource that I wish I had when I started my journey over a year ago. As I'm sure you can already tell by the length of this video, we have a lot of information to get through today. So I'm going to have timestamps as always, so feel free to skip around, but these are the things we're going to be covering in today's video. Firstly, we're going to be quickly diving into what the AI chatbot opportunity really means for people like you and I. This includes a brief discussion of the macro factors that are at play, what sort of trends we're riding here, the main drivers for this. If you're completely new to my channel and aren't aware of the huge opportunity to sell chatbots to businesses, I would definitely recommend you start from the beginning and listen to that, because there's quite a lot of background you need to know before you can start to really see the opportunity that's in front of us. Then I'm going to be giving you a deep dive on the different kinds of chatbots that are available to build within the market and the sort of pros and cons of each. Then we're going to be jumping into an analysis of the best softwares available. This is going from prototyping to full chatbot builders to tools. I'm going to be covering everything so that you guys are aware of what exists on the market and you guys can go straight to the best ones rather than spending all the time I've done working with the bad ones. Then we're going to be getting our hands dirty by breaking down the key concepts of chatbot building and sort of AI in general, so that you're able to understand and have a foundation of knowledge that you can build your knowledge on chatbots on top of. And then finally, we're going to be taking all of the information and things that we've just learned and put them into practice by building 9 different chatbots live, step by step, for you guys to follow along at home. The chatbots we're going to be building range from extremely basic all the way up to extremely advanced. So you're going to get to go step by step and improve your chatbot building skills all the way through. And we're going to be teaching it on one of the most powerful bot building platforms. So you're building a skill set already that is going to be valuable for years to come. And then finally, I've thrown in a little bit of a bonus, which I think is necessary at the end of this video, on how you can actually take the chatbot building skills and building the chatbots and start selling it to businesses. So all of that is going to be covered at the end of the video once you have the skills required to do so. Now, before we get started, there are a few things that you're going to need. Firstly, you have to go and get a notebook. You can't watch this video without a notebook and a pen. There's just no way that you can watch all of this and not take a couple notes down. So go get a notebook, go get a pen, go get a coffee. I've got mine. You're also going to need an open mind to these new concepts that are coming in. And also there's a lot of sort of mental resistance I get from people sometimes talking about chatbots and thinking there's no way that you could sell them for that much. You're also going to need an open mind to the new things I'm about to teach you, but also to keep an open mindset, really, that anything that you want to learn, you can learn it. There's no sort of I'm a developer, or I'm not a developer, or I'm a this, or I'm a that. Have an open mind and be ready and confident in your ability to learn anything you want if you put your mind to it. And I assure you that if you're watching this, you definitely can do what I'm going to show you in this video. And finally, what I need you to do right now is pause this video, close all of your tabs, come back to this video and save it to your watch later down below. Leave a like and subscribe while you're down there if you want to support me, because you need absolute focus on this video for the next 2 hours, 2.5 hours, however long this ends up being. I'm prepared to sit here for 5 or 6 hours to film this for you guys, so I'm sure you can sit there for 2 hours to listen to this whole thing and take notes. So if you've got your notebook, you've got your pen, you've got your coffee, open mind, and you're also fully focused on this video and this tab only, then we're ready to get started. Now, before you spend 2 hours listening to some guy on the internet, I'm sure you're going to want to know a little bit of background about me, so you know you're not wasting your time and why you should even listen to me at all. So a little bit about me. My name is Liam Otley, and I'm an online entrepreneur from New Zealand, but now based in Dubai and currently in Europe for the summer. I'm the creator of the AI automation agency, or AAA as it is known, and I'm also running the largest community of AAA owners in the world. We have about 23,000 members in there, which I'm teaching to regularly. I've been doing online business for nearly 5 years now, and as you can see, I've had nearly as many hairstyles as I've had years in the game. And through my online businesses, I've been fortunate enough to build the life of my dreams, where I live where I want, I work with the people I love working with, and I get to work on things I really love working on. My main focus right now is on building and scaling my AI automation and AI development company called Morningside AI. As you can see on screen here, we have three parts of the company: Morningside AI, Morningside Automation, and our Morningside Studio. And collectively, they're doing about $120,000 per month now. So that's up a little bit from last month, if you've seen my previous videos. We do a number of different things, including building custom AI applications for clients, but also complete business automations with AI and AI integration. I want to point out that a significant chunk of our monthly revenue is coming from our automation side, which is using the exact same skills that I'm going to be teaching you in this video to build chatbots using low code and no code platforms. So all of that stuff that you're going to learn is applicable to the exact same kind of stuff that we're using to generate tens of thousands of dollars per month in revenue. So that's a little bit about me, about my background, my company, what I do, and why you might want to listen to a 2 or 3 hour video from me. I'll leave that up to you to decide. One last thing before we get into the video, I wanted to let you all know that the waiting list for my AI automation agency accelerator is now open. In my last video, I asked you all as my community if you'd be interested in me putting together as some kind of exclusive community that would be led by coaches that are handpicked by me, that are industry experts in their given fields, in order to sort of hold your hand and walk you through step by step on your AI automation agency journey. If you've been following me for a while, you know that my method has always been to give everything away for free, and then I can sell on the implementation via Morningside AI, my development company. However, I've been feeling that perhaps this is actually hindering the potential of some of you more than it's actually helping you. And it seems like many of you agreed based on the results that we got from the poll that I put out. 90% of you said that you would be interested if I put something like this together. So I'm going to be releasing just 150 spots to my exclusive accelerator community over the coming week. The only way to get access to this will be through getting on the waiting list. There's going to be a link for you to sign up to it. So you can head down below and sign up to the waiting list now if you want to jump on that as soon as possible. Section number 1, the AI chatbot opportunity explained. In this section, we're going to be doing some important groundwork in understanding and really realizing why this trend is so big, why it's such a big opportunity to get into, and why you'd even consider building the skill of building AI chatbot. This section is absolutely crucial background for you. Before you go into the later stages of this video, we're essentially establishing the why for you. Why are you bothering to learn AI chatbot development? Why would you even want to learn how to make these things? All of that is going to be absolutely crystal clear by the end of this section. Well, first of all, if you're watching this video, you probably don't need me to tell you that we are in an absolutely booming market, the AI space in general, but specifically chatbots as well. So we're kind of in a super hot area of a super hot niche already. As you can see on screen, the growth rates of these markets is absolutely exploding. This alone is kind of a good enough reason to be paying attention, or at least trying to build skills within the area. Learning an essential skill within a booming market like chatbot building within AI is really a no-brainer in a lot of cases. If you're looking to get into it, you're looking to participate, and you're looking to make money. Now, when it comes to applications for chatbots, how they can be applied to provide real-world value, it's always going to come back to how businesses can use them to improve themselves as a business, to treat their customers better. And this is really where the main value of this new technology is going to be evident. And for you, as someone who's looking to learn this skill as a freelancer to start selling your services, or as a business owner to start helping to grow your own business, it's important to know what the benefits and the opportunities are for businesses themselves. Firstly, chatbots open up a new communication channel between customers and businesses, which can be hugely beneficial. You can sell things to them, you can get insights from them, as we see later here. Secondly, there's a 24/7 availability on these chatbots, so you're getting increased customer satisfaction and better service to people globally. So you're not just working within maybe the Eastern time or things like this. AI chatbots by nature have sort of cost savings built into them, right? They're intended to automate tasks and replace people by being artificial intelligences. So they're able to make decisions, they're able to handle queries without needing to pay them essentially. And businesses can actually increase their revenue by using tools like AI chatbots because it's more of a personalized shopping experience. Customers can, or clients can get access to a personalized service or personalized upsells, personalized recommendations that are just not possible with traditional chatbots or with other marketing methods, really. And finally, and my personal favorite, this kind of goes back to our first point of a new customer engagement channel. But the data that you get from these chatbots and the customer queries and information that's coming through them, the transcript information offers a completely new data source to extract insights from and assist in decision making. You are going to be getting so much data from these customers, and you're able to analyze that data and make decisions off it on products, on sort of strategic moves and things like this. This is the really, really exciting bit for me personally. Now, with that background on what chatbots are, why businesses would even be interested in implementing them, it's important to take a bit of a closer look and really ask, why is this happening? What is the underlying trend that's occurring that's making chatbots become more and more popular? That's really carrying this entire thing forward. The answer to this question is really the real revolution that has been started by AI. And I think there's going to be a number of different ones, but this is the first one we are experiencing right now. And this is the one that we can really focus on and build skills around and make money on now. And thanks to AI and its ability to understand text and voice, we are moving away from these point and click websites towards a world where everything we want to do on computers or with our phone, etc., or on websites can be done via either typing it in and telling it what we want, or by speaking to it. This can be a little bit hard to grasp sometimes, so I want to break it down. One example of this could be that you wanted to, I don't know, post on Facebook about you going on holiday. Right now, you'd have to go onto Facebook, you'd have to make click, 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 you'd have to type in all your information, you'd have to hit enter, and you're going to send that and make the post. Similarly, if you wanted to look for a house on a residential website, so you could go on and make click, click, click. I want to filter by area, by number of bedrooms, all of this manual input that you're having to do in order to get your results. Now, in the future that we're moving towards, both of those things can be completely changed the way we do them, really. So for Facebook, you could either type to your Facebook assistant and say, make a post on Facebook about how I'm going on holiday soon, bang, and it can do it all in the background for you. Or ideally, you can do it when Apple gets their things together through Siri, through a voice assistant. You can just press and hold and it says, hey, write me a post on Facebook for me going on holiday in the next week. Or can you look for houses on this site that are 5 bedrooms in this area? And it can do it all for you. But that's a little bit far off where we're going with the voice. I think that will come soon. But in the meantime, the chat is the sort of method of input that we're going to right now. Thanks to the huge success of things like ChatGPT, people are more familiar than ever with telling a computer or instructing an AI what to do through text. Now, the only question to ask here really is, why is this happening? Why would consumers start to expect or even demand natural language input with their businesses they interact with, rather than point and click websites which have proven to work and we've been using them for decades? The answer to this, of course, is that the human brain by nature is a lazy organ. Our brains have developed to do the bare minimum in order to survive, to conserve energy, mental energy, physical energy at all costs in order to be as survivable as possible, right? So in our modern context, this takes some kind of weird shapes, but in this case, it is the fact of having to think about what you need to do on a website, having to go in and physically click and do all these things. That takes more energy than just knowing what you want. And if you had a way to communicate to a computer or communicate to a website purely what you need done, and you didn't have to do it yourself, that would be a huge improvement over point and click to this new sort of natural language input. This revolution in how we interact with computers represents an outsourcing of the problem solving and of the actual doing from our brains and from our bodies to the computer. When we communicate our needs to a computer and tell it what to do through chat or through natural language, all we have to do is think about what we want to do and communicate that, and they do the rest. No longer do you have to do the problem solving of going, oh, I need to find a house of this type. Okay, now how do I do that? I need to click here and here. You just tell it what you want and it does the rest. That is a huge benefit and a huge improvement over having to do things manually purely because of the time and energy required, but also the mental strain required to think about how you want to execute on the things you want done. And it is absolutely crucial to understand this, the underlying reason why this change is going to happen, because now that we can work down to that and find some valid basis, it's not just AI technology hype, it's real psychology. It's proven to have been done over and over again. Our brains want an easier solution. And the reason I wanted to include this in the video is because, at least for me personally, as someone who likes to think he's logical and make evidence-based decisions, understanding that there is a factual underpinning to this entire trend, especially in these kind of markets, these AI hype cycles, crypto, whatever it is, where it's so much hype, digging down to this underlying sort of psychological principle and finding real evidence that this thing is going to be real and it has some sort of backing is at least important for me. And I thought it would be valuable for you, people who are looking to become chatbot developers, to get into this particular space, to have this kind of thing to go back to and say, yes, I know that I'm seeing through the hype. There is something real to this. And with that, you can have the conviction to really dive straight into something with a bit of evidence behind you and with some real conviction. And I thought I'd throw this in here as a pretty accurate example of the kind of future we're moving towards, just to illustrate this. But Iron Man's Jarvis is a great example of the future that we sort of have laying ahead of us if this technology moves in the right way. So with all of that theory out of the way, and we've identified that there's a big thing happening and that businesses have a lot to gain by implementing chatbots, be it through personalization leading to increased revenue, be it through reducing staff costs by automating certain tasks, etc. And that customers are very soon going to be demanding these kind of options for interacting with businesses. How can we latch onto the back of this trend and build businesses, build skills, make money, and build a life we love living off the back of this thing? And so the real opportunity for us is that business owners are going to need it, but they're going to have absolutely no clue how to do it. There are a number of different roadblocks in the way between business owners and being able to implement this themselves. Some of them are on screen here. So chatbots themselves can be complex to build and maintain, or at least initially appear to be complex to build and maintain. What I'm going to be teaching you later on in this video is going to make things crystal clear for you, and making complex chatbots is going to feel like a walk in the park. Secondly, poorly made or bad chatbots can actually do more harm to a business than good. So there's a requirement in building these chatbots that prevents amateurs from getting in there and throwing things around to businesses. So there's a level of skill required to create a chatbot that's actually going to benefit the business. So again, these are sort of factors that are blocking the way for a business owner to be able to do it themselves. Thirdly, depending on your industry, business owners can have all sorts of issues with data privacy and concerns. So being able to be the expert and helping them understand this issue and how it applies to their chatbots and their business can be another way for you to profit off of this knowledge gap. And finally, the actual integration of these chatbots with their existing systems. So not just building and maintaining the chatbot itself, but how it fits into all of the systems of the business can also be complex. And that's something that I'm covering a little bit in this video, but also later in another video that I'm doing. So you're going to have all of the information you need to cover all of these points off. But these are the questions that business owners have, and that's what's stopping them from being able to do it yourself. You are going to be the ones that bridge that for them, and you have the specialized knowledge to get this thing done for them and allow them to adopt this new technology into their business so that they can make the most of the gains that they provide. And I find in these kind of situations, it's helpful to look back at history to see where we might be going. And we have 3 examples of this kind of thing happening over and over again. Firstly, websites, same kind of thing, new technology, complex, business owners don't understand it. You could help them to solve it and give them specific knowledge to get them to where they want to go, which is a website being able to take advantage of this new technology. Same thing happens with mobile apps. Business owners have no clue how to make a mobile app, but you can help them bridge that gap, but there's benefits for them to receive on the end of it. Same thing with social media marketing and social media itself. Businesses knew that there were benefits to be had from it. People came in and built a specific skill set or a specific bit of knowledge, and then they were able to help businesses and get money in return for that in order to take advantage of the technology. You are the knowledge bridge, bridging this gap between business owners and the kind of gains and growth that they want to get out of these new technologies. Same thing applies for AI and chatbots. And I know what you're thinking. I'm not a developer. I wouldn't know the first thing about helping them build a website or a mobile app or things like this. I couldn't have participated in those. The best thing about this current revolution and this new technology that we have is that it's perfectly timed with the sort of massive uptick in no-code platforms and no-code builders. So on screen, we have a bunch of no-code options: chat-based, bot, press, stack, make, voice flows, API, all of these things. These are sort of the key elements of building chatbots, at least from my experience. These are no-code platforms that you can use to build chatbots. And this is sort of the perfect crossing over of this new technology of AI and bot builders with this no-code revolution. So we have an opportunity as regular people without development backgrounds to take advantage of this and help to be these facilitators, bridging the gap for business owners. There is no excuse why anyone watching this couldn't learn them and couldn't start to be that person to connect businesses with the sort of promised land of having these chatbots built into their business that do all these things for them. So with all of that, what are your options? Well, from my experience working with students and working with my community members and in my own journey as well, you really only have 2 routes. Firstly, you can become a bot developer or a conversation designer. In order to do this, all you need to do is put aside a couple of weeks or a month to really master this modern chatbot building and what's called conversation design nowadays, and then start to sell your services as a freelancer, or even better yet, get hired by a company who needs these skills. As you can see on screen already, this is on Indeed.com, one of the largest job marketplaces in the world, and we're starting to see conversational AI designer, AI chatbot developer, AI and bot developer. These things are starting to pop up with serious money behind them, and we're really just starting to see the beginning of this trend, I believe. So if you work on it now and you get these skills brushed up, you can be working as a freelancer, doing Upwork jobs, or even just running your own freelancing business. A good example of having a no-code skill set becoming valuable is the example of Webflow. It's a no-code website builder, but people become Webflow experts. According to Glassdoor, as of February 2023, the national average salary for a Webflow developer was $85,000 per year. So this shows you that these no-code skill sets can eventually become valuable, and you can start to make a lot of money as a freelancer or as an employee. And this was no code for websites. Now imagine this, but combined with the hottest market in the world right now, and something that is really driving a ton of new and exciting value for businesses. I'd be very surprised to see these kind of prices, if not more, as the sort of basic rate for these developers and these bot developers moving forward. Now, option number 2 is to create your own business that sells AI chatbots and other sort of AI related services to other businesses. And this is what I've called the AI automation agency, or AAA, as I mentioned in the intro. As an AI automation agency, you can create powerful AI chatbots and sell them to other businesses. You can also stack additional value on top of your chatbots by adding additional automations that integrate these chatbots into the businesses. So it's no longer just a little isolated chatbot that does one function. It is a key part of a business. Imagine a lead generation chatbot that is now bringing new business in, and you're sending that information off to other parts of the business. You're analyzing it. You're doing follow-ups and things like this. So the goal is to package up a bunch of different automations. So maybe it's a chatbot with a couple different automation deliverables on the back of it. And then you're going to package it up and sell it to a niche. You can create a package for a specific industry, maybe a chatbot with a couple things built off the back of it. You can say that I have an AI automation package for real estate agents, and then you focus on that niche and you're able to sell this package to as many real estate agents as possible. So this is more of the business side of things. I think freelancing is both great, great way to get your feet wet and to build up a bit of experience. And then once you've seen enough of the different industries that are working and the really exciting ones that you want to work with, then you can start your own AI automation agency, focus on that niche and create like a really awesome package that provides real value for the business, and then start to sort of mass distribute that package to people within that niche. The AI automation agency model is something I created in order to provide the best on-ramp for entrepreneurs into AI, because I'd always sort of struggled to find a way that I could recommend to a friend and say, hey, this is how you can start in AI. This is how you can start to make money. This is how you can start to make a business. So I've built it sort of around, initially at least, around no code and low code tools so that it's much more accessible. And this is the kind of stuff I'm going to be teaching you later in the video. The exact chatbots that we're going to be building are the ones that I sell in my AI automation agency over at Morningside. And you're going to be able to take them and start to sell them to clients, etc. So I'm giving you all the information you need to start doing the same things that I am. And on screen, you can see the kind of transition that I really want the AI automation agency model to facilitate, which is transitioning from an AI spectator and someone who's just looking at watching videos and trying to keep up with the news to someone who's an actual active participant. And you're running a business, you're speaking to clients, you're actively doing things. And this is how I've learned so much in the past sort of year and a half, is by actually doing it every day. And spectating, you're only going to get so far. So that's why I've created the model to be as beginner friendly as possible, at least initially, to use these low code and no code tools, so that you can become an active participant and really accelerate your learning and see above the crowd, which is really in a position that I am as well. And it's really great because you see the opportunities a mile away, and you can make much more calculated decisions, and you're ready for those opportunities when they come. And as I said earlier, selling these low code and no code chatbots to my clients makes up a significant portion of the $120,000 in revenue we're doing monthly at the moment. I don't want to jump the gun and spend too much time on this now, so I'm going to be giving you a lot more information on this model and on how you can get into it at the end of the video, where I cover how you can sell chatbots to businesses. But if you absolutely cannot wait and you really want to know more about this right now, I do have a 2-hour-long beginner's guide on how you can start an AI automation agency. Step by step, we've got nearly 200,000 views on that, and the reception has been fantastic. So if you want to jump over, it's going to be up here, but be sure to come back and watch this, because this is sort of the foundation on how you can actually deliver the services. And this is part of the reason I'm making this, is because so many people in my community were like, man, I just need a really good tutorial on how to build chatbots in the first place. And finally, we're in section number 2. We're going to be covering the different types of chatbots. Now, this is important to understand, because sorting out all of the different types, there's probably thousands of different ways you can build them at this point. Being able to sort them out and at least cluster them into sort of rough groups is important for you moving forward, to know what to apply to what situation and what client might need what, and what particular type of chatbot is good for which situation. Now, the different types of chatbots that I'm going to cover within this video, which covers basically as much as you need to know. We have old school chatbots, we have pure AI chatbots, and then we have what I call modern chatbots. Now, the first type is old school chatbots. These things have been around forever. They're largely based on decision trees, as you can see on the side here. Sort of like if then, if this happens, then do this, if the user says this, or if the user presses this button, etc. These typically require strict matches, and you may have even encountered these on some websites over the past couple of years, where you would ask something and it would just have no clue what you're talking about, and it's like, how does this thing not understand? It's because it's probably based on strict matching. I mean, you have to say a specific set of words in order to get a specific outcome. So in a lot of cases, these are going to prefer to have binary choices, giving you, would you like to do this or that? Rather than saying, what would you like help with, and letting you answer in free form and sort of open-ended conversation. And I call them old school because they have literally been around for forever, really. All the way back to 1966 was the first chatbot called Eliza. It's like a psychotherapist, a project someone did at university. What this thing had was hundreds or probably even thousands of responses. And then when the user sent a question in, it had to sort of match up the question with one of the existing responses as best it could. So he had to put thousands and thousands of different responses in this thing. And it was all, if he didn't put it into the chatbot originally, it's not going to be able to create it. So having to match up inputs and outputs is a sort of black and white, day and night contrast to what I call pure AI chatbots. And these are basically ChatGPT. How you're familiar with using ChatGPT is the most basic example of a pure AI chatbot you can imagine. Pure AI chatbots are completely free-form conversation. You could chat to it all day. You can ask it any question, anything you want in the world, and it's going to come back intelligently from that. These things run on an endless loop. As I said, they're just going to go on and on and on. It's the complete opposite of old school, where you have to have it sort of baked into it and match the inputs and outputs up. With these pure AI chatbots, they've kind of done all the baking for you. These large language models have so much data. It's had hundreds of millions of different sentences and phrases already baked into that so that you don't have to do it yourself. When you ask it a question, it's able to just intelligently guess the next token until you've got an answer. So you guys are probably very, very familiar with ChatGPT. I don't think there's much explanation needed for this. But in the case of when we're using it in our own applications and chatbots we build or in other apps, we're going to be running on a large language model API. So in this case, a lot of the chatbot builders are using the ChatGPT API or the GPT-4 API. Essentially, this allows us to use the functionality of ChatGPT or GPT-4 within our own application. So it's basically like calling them up and saying, hey, I'm going to send you my message. Can you send it back? Can you do that programmatically rather than within the ChatGPT interface itself? Now, for our purposes, I categorize pure AI chatbots into two distinct types. We have firstly prompted assistants, and then we also have custom knowledge chatbots. Now, prompted assistants are very basic. They're very easy to do. You guys have probably even done them within ChatGPT yourself. Essentially, all you're doing is combining a large language model and a prompt. So here you can see I've got instructions.txt. Whenever you see this, just know that I'm talking about prompts. So it's instructions to the model on what I want it to do. In this case, we're combining a large language model with a prompt, telling it what to do, how to behave. You're setting it into a mode or a character, and it's going to use only the knowledge that's already been baked into the large language model. So the easiest way for you to understand what these things are is think back to when you're using ChatGPT yourself. I'm sure there's been many times where you've given it instructions. You are a this, and this. I want you to do this, and this. Only respond with this, and this. In the same way that you are prompting ChatGPT to get it to do a specific thing personally, a prompted assistant is just sort of the external version of that. We are doing the exact same thing, but with an API to do it instead. So we provide instructions within our chatbot application saying, one example, maybe you are a Python tutor. You are going to teach me how to learn Python. You are going to give me instructions to do this and this. You're going to give me tests. Those are instructions that I can give to my ChatGPT API, and I prompt it into this role. And then I can have this interaction with a chatbot that's been prompted into this role. Now, the key thing to know here is that it's using the baked-in knowledge of that. So you can use any of the knowledge that ChatGPT knows and use it off that and have a fairly useful and interesting prompted assistant, but it's limited in that the information is only going to be capped at the information that was trained in the model in the first place. And the last point here is that they can be helpful, but they're never really going to be hugely valuable because it's all so freely accessible. Anything that you do with a prompted assistant can be replicated basically instantly by someone giving it the same instructions. So there's no real source that you're adding on top of it. You're just giving it a bit of instruction. So it can be helpful, but in terms of selling it and creating a valuable chatbot for a business especially, it's not going to be hugely valuable. Next, we have custom knowledge chatbots, which I'm sure you're familiar with. This is the same as a prompted assistant, but you have the added element of a knowledge base. So it's a large language model API. We're going to cover APIs soon, so don't worry about that. We have a prompt as well, so some instructions on what this AI is supposed to do. And then we have it connected to a knowledge base of maybe a business's business data. So you might have your spreadsheet put in there, or you might have some instructions. You might have a customer service document. Now, creating a custom knowledge chatbot that has access to some interesting data can be very, very valuable. And there's thousands of use cases really for it, not just within businesses, within your personal life. There's so many different things you can do with a custom knowledge chatbot. Knowing how these work and how to build them is such a valuable skill. So I'm going to be covering it a ton. We're going to be doing 5 or 6 different examples of custom knowledge chatbots later in the video. So stick around for that because they are very, very easy to make when you know how to do them the way I do them. But there are so many different applications. And once you have that knowledge, you can really provide value to a business in so many different ways. Now, the final point I've got here is that they are not as simple as you think. I see so many wrong things being said about the myths and misconceptions that I'm going to clear up in this video, give you the full under the hood look and understanding of the key concepts and how these things actually work. And that's going to put you head and shoulders above everyone else in this market if you actually know how these things work, because when things go wrong, you're going to be able to debug them and figure it out. So all of that later in the video. I really can't wait to tell you about that. That's my favorite stuff, really. Some examples of custom knowledge chatbots are basic customer support chatbots. You have basic AI persona chatbots that I talk a lot about on this channel. You have basic lead generation chatbots and basic staff training chatbots. Now, I say basic because modern chatbots, which I'm covering next, are sort of the advanced versions, which have a lot more features. We're going to be building a bunch of basic chatbots later in the video, but then also building some advanced ones. So I thought I'd make it clear the difference between the basic and the advanced ones and the sort of category that they fit into. Now, the final kind of chatbot, and the one we're really going to be focusing on learning how to build later in the video, is of course modern chatbots. This is a term or a definition that I've given to a specific type of chatbots that use a lot of the modern stuff that we are seeing in the space right now. And it typically combines what we've gone over as the old school chatbots with elements of AI. So the same kind of structure and the way you could lay out a old school style chatbot, but also by adding in a ton of AI features and using AI technology to enhance it, it becomes this really flexible and powerful type of chatbot. And as I just said, these chatbots are able to do specific functions or have different features built into them. And this can perform external actions like pushing and pulling data to a database, or calling an API and retrieving some information, or sending some away. So you can do a lot more functionality, and they get out of this little box that these pure AI chatbots are typically stuck in. And because of the points I've just mentioned, these chatbots can be extremely valuable to a business. And I've got some examples here on screen of advanced chatbots that you can build. You may notice that these are exactly the same as the custom knowledge-based chatbots that we've just gone over. The point is that those were basic. These are advanced, and that you can add a ton more features into it to do a lot more to connect to parts of the business. So anything that you can do with a custom knowledge chatbot, you can basically upgrade and make a ton more valuable and powerful by using the modern chatbot creation methods. Now that you've got a clear idea of the different kinds of chatbots that you can work with and you can create, it's important to now jump into the kind of softwares that are going to allow you to build these things as easily as possible and sort of give you as much depth as you need to build the features you want. So I've worked with a lot of softwares. I do this on the daily. I am building chatbots. I am helping my team build chatbots. I'm working with students building chatbots. So I've really tested out everything. And so for my trial and error, I've compiled this list of softwares that you can at least start with. Feel free to explore your own. But the ones I'm going to be covering in this, I've used myself and I actually enjoy using out. And I was happy enough to share them with you guys in this video as starting points at least. So when it comes to chatbot building, I've divided these softwares into 3 distinct parts. Firstly, we have prototyping. Secondly, we have what I'm calling complete builders. So these are bot building platforms. And then thirdly, we have tools, which are extra bits and bobs that can help enhance the functionality of your existing chatbot. To start off with, we have prototyping softwares. Now, there's a ton of different ones you can use for this. These 3 on screen are the ones I typically like to play around with. I think there's little differences between each of them that allow you to use it for different use cases. And I feel like, at least from my experience, having these 3 in your pocket and at least being familiar with them is very handy for working with clients, spinning up prototypes, etc. So we have Chatbase, Dante AI, and Cody AI. We're going to be covering these later in the video. I'll show you how to whip up a quick prototype chatbot and why you might want to do that as well. Typing, I mean a kind of chatbot that allows you to quickly spin something up. It's good for quick demos. As I say here on screen, you can shoot a little Loom video of you using it to send to clients, potential clients, and get them warmed up on the idea of a chatbot. You can very, very easily take some custom data, put it into these platforms, and spin up a prototype. This can be very, very good for proof of concepts, similar to demos, but proving that, say, you're working with a client, this particular set of data, I can actually make work within one of these prototyping platforms. So you can quickly grab it, spin it up, and prove to your client, prove to yourself and the client as well, that this kind of outcome is possible, even using these basic prototyping platforms. So if you can do it with one of these, it's very, very likely that you can do it and better when you take it over to a complete bot builder. And the reason these are prototyping softwares and not fully fledged chatbot builders is that there's typically limited customization on them. You can change the styling, you can play around with the prompting and things like this, but there's a sort of an upper limit on how much customization you can do. And that really restricts a lot of the chatbots you can build here to that pure AI kind of type, right? So you can't get it to these modern chatbots with a ton of cool functionality, ability to call different things. So very much contained within a box, but still very, very useful in many use cases as well. And the key point here, and why I've even mentioned them at all, is that these can be very, very valuable to quickly spin up a demo, show it to a client, get some interest, at least prove it to them that it can work. As you'll find, I've found, and my students find as well, that there's so much skepticism about this technology. sometimes you need to have a very, very low and very low risk offer for a client in order to get them to see the value in it. So rather than expecting them to pay you $5, $6, $7, whatever $1,000 for a complete modern chatbot build that's plugged into all of their business, you can spin them up a prototype for one of these things, give it away for free or a very low amount of money. And then once they see the value, you can upsell them on the full package that's going to do a ton more and provide a ton more value. So each of these softwares are very similar in how they work. For chat-based, you can upload a website URL and take a selected number of pages off a website URL and create a chatbot out of that. You can also upload documents, and it's going to create a custom knowledge chatbot that you can talk to and deploy, etc. Very similar with Dante AI, only it also has a YouTube video data loader, so you could put a whole bunch of my YouTube videos in and start to have a custom knowledge chatbot that you can chat to there. And similarly, Cody AI, I put this one in here because it has a cool feature where you can select folders, and as you see here, we have a website and documents as data to load, but then you can also build in folders and then select what folder your custom knowledge chatbot is going to use. So it might sound a little bit complicated, but I'll show it later in the video of how we can use this, and there's some specific use cases that this can be very, very useful for, at least when prototyping. Then we have what I call complete bot builders. We have BotPress and VoiceFlow. If you've watched my channel much before, you know I've used BotPress extensively. VoiceFlow I've been using a bit recently as well. So there's two options here. They have fairly similar features. As you can see here, they've got a very similar sort of canvas layout where you can plot out the nodes, you can connect them up, and you can run all your custom functionality. And this is really key because it allows you to build anything you want. So anything you can imagine, you can basically find a way to build it on these platforms, giving you a huge amount of flexibility and sort of creative freedom and control. So they can build anything from ultra basic chatbots all the way to some of the most complex ones you could possibly find in the market right now. One of the key differences, as I mentioned before, between this and the prototyping ones is that you have ability to perform actions and really make your chatbot not just sitting in a little bubble, but allow it to do things outside, like connect to the business database or to call APIs and things like this. So you can read and write to databases, you can make API calls. And then another hugely important part is the easy deployment to major channels. So these bot building platforms allow you to send your chatbot onto a web chat, so put it in a little bubble down the corner. You can also deploy it to WhatsApp. You can also deploy it to SMS and things like this. So plenty of easy deployment, and deployment can actually be very difficult if you were doing this manually. But using these bot builders and these tools and these platforms allow you to quickly, sort of a couple different clicks, and then you're able to get it sent out onto a cool new way for customers and people to interact with your bots. And then finally, we have the third category, which I'm calling tools. And this includes things like automation platforms such as Zapier and Make, but also things like Stack AI, which I've used heavily on the channel before, to build really custom functionality. So if I build some cool custom AI functionality that I can't necessarily get done within VoiceFlow or within BotPress, I can create it in something like Stack AI and do a really, really cool AI application. And then I can connect that application and the functionality that I've created to my bot. And they can just, when I get to a particular part in the bot build or they're in the conversation, they hit a trigger and I can call that app. I can pass some data to Stack AI, manipulate it, do whatever I want with it, and then pull this really valuable response back and really expand outside of the functionality provided by BotPress and VoiceFlow. On the automation side with Zapier and Make, we're going to be covering later in the video as well. Basically, these are very, very powerful platforms that's going to allow you to integrate the chatbot with the rest of the business and basically do a whole bunch of cool functions. Again, extending the functionality of the chatbot beyond just its little bubble that it works in, but being able to pull data from it and do things with it and trigger events within the business, like capture leads and do all sorts of stuff, trigger email and SMS flows, all that really, really fun stuff, which I love doing. We're going to be covering later in the video as well. So we have a lot to get to when it comes to key concepts. Today, we're going to be talking about knowledge bases first and foremost, which is hugely important to understand, and the real complexities and what's going on behind the scenes with them. Then we have a brief touch on fine-tuning. Then we get into prompting, which is a hugely important aspect of chatbot building, intent classification, chat history, and deployment. We're going to go through each of these right now and be sure to have your notebook ready because there's a lot of information to take in. Without further ado, let's get stuck into knowledge bases. Just to be clear, when I say knowledge base, I'm referring to the element of the custom knowledge chatbot that we were mentioning earlier in the video. It is a key element in creating a custom knowledge chatbot, and knowledge base is where the knowledge is stored really. So a knowledge base is a database of text and numeric data chunks stored by similarity. A chatbot can retrieve a small amount of information most similar to the user query from that database. Then only this info that was retrieved from the database is then passed to a model, such as the ChatGPT API, to help it generate an answer to their question. Now, not all of the info from the database is going to be used, just the chunks that were retrieved. It's about as simple as I could get it to make it fit on the screen. We're now going to spend a couple slides just really breaking that down. The appearance versus reality when it comes to knowledge bases is really important to understand initially. And that with a correctly set up knowledge base, as in you've done all the work and you've managed the parameters correctly, you can create a chatbot that appears to know all of the information that you've given it to know. But in reality, this is not true. It does not know all of the information. And here's why. The issue that we run into when you're trying to make a chatbot know all of the information, or an AI in general, a large language model, is that we run into the seemingly age-old issue now of language models, is that you hit the token limit. We have this token limit pain. As you may know, ChatGPT, when you're using it personally, has a token limit, says you've given too much, the message is too long, you need to reduce it and try again. It's the same thing when you're using these models programmatically. When you're calling the APIs, there is a fixed limit on the information that we can provide them with in terms of how many tokens. So here on the side, you can see GPT 3.5 Turbo, which runs ChatGPT, has a limit of 4,000 tokens. And this includes not only the message you send, but the information you get back. So if I send 3,000 tokens and it tries to send back 1,500 tokens, it doesn't work. It's over the limit. And because of these token limits, it is impossible. It's possible if you have a very small knowledge base, but if you have a large knowledge base with like an entire encyclopedia inside it, it is impossible because of the token limit for the AI to look at all the data and really see it all, because you can't put the entire book in. It can only understand what's in the 4,000 or 8,000 tokens that we send away to it. So it's impossible for it to look at everything because it's more than 8,000 tokens. And so in order to get around this token limit issue, we need to set up a retrieval system to get the most relevant info to answer our user query, and only that. We only have 4,000 tokens. If we're going to answer a user's question, we better make sure that the information that we are putting in those 4,000 tokens is the most relevant to what the users asked. This is the key to understanding this whole thing. And so how do we set up a system that can retrieve the right information to answer the specific user question? Well, the first step is what's called chunking. And that is basically, say, again, using the encyclopedia example, I put an encyclopedia into my knowledge base. What I'm going to do, what the system is then going to do, is chunk it into sets of text. Using the encyclopedia example again, say I take my encyclopedia and I put it through our system. What it's going to do is take that entire book, or the entire sort of thousands and thousands of pages that you scroll through on your computer, and it's just going to chop it into what are called chunks. Now, these chunks can vary in size, and you can play around with the different sizes of them and how much they overlap and things like this. But to keep it simple, imagine we're chopping them into chunks of text this big, maybe. So we've got one chunk, two chunks, maybe 3 chunks per page or something like that. And then once we chunk the encyclopedia into thousands of chunks of this size, we're going to take all of those chunks and put them into what's called a vector database. I don't want to get too technical, but on screen is an image that kind of allows you to understand how the vector databases work. It's not a normal database and how you have like a row, like a spreadsheet and things like this. It's more of like a box, and you can store the information, all of your chunks, go into the vector database, and they're stored by the similarity of the meaning. So we use an embedding script that's going to essentially identify what the chunk is about. So every chunk, we're going to put it through this, what's called an embedding model. Don't worry about that, it's a bit too technical. But we put it through the embedding model, and then it's going to basically tell us what this is about. And then when you put it into the vector space, it's going to sort everything by what's semantically similar to each other. So on screen, you can see here, we've got things like barrels and BPD. Barrels and BPD have been put close together, and the closer they are, the more similar the meaning is. And as you can see here, we also have oil producers in China and things like this. So all of our encyclopedia chunks are going to be put into our vector database and all sort of assembled where they're closer to each other if they're more similar. So one on an elephant might be right next to a rhinoceros, and so on. And then something about cars and motorbikes might be in a completely different area but nearby as well. It's important to understand this, that they are stored by their similarity. They're clustered and they're close to chunks that are most similar to what their content contains. Firstly, you'll recognize our vector database is up here. This is filled with all of our information. So it starts over here on the right with a user query. So say I'm using our encyclopedia custom knowledge base, and I say, how much does an elephant weigh? It's going to take my user query, it's going to run it to the vector database, and it's going to basically have some instructions. Imagine there's someone who's operating the vector database, and they read, how much does an elephant weigh? And he has coordinates of where the elephant would be, and he reaches into this box and grabs, okay, elephant is over here. I'm going to grab anything around there. So it will pull back maybe 5 chunks from our encyclopedia that are closest to where elephant should be in the vector database. So we pull that back out, and now we have 5 chunks that are highly similar to what we've asked. So it might be an elephant or an rhinoceros, a giraffe, anything that's kind of similar to what we've asked about. It's going to pull those information chunks back. And then we have what we're called the most relevant chunks here on the side. Then we have the final crucial step of actually generating an answer based off this information. So here we can see we take the most relevant chunks and we pass them over to what I'm saying is an AI plus a prompt. And we're also going to be passing this AI plus a prompt, the user query that we said originally. So how much does an elephant weigh is our original query. We're going to ask the vector database for anything related to that. We've got the most relevant chunks back regarding elephants and how much they weigh. And we're passing that to the AI, but we're also passing us the original question. So the AI, as you'll see in the next slide, is going to know, one, what we're after, and it's going to have these 5 chunks of information that should be able to help it answer the question. So this in particular deserves a little bit more investigation, so we can take this to the next slide. Now, there's some code on the screen here. Don't freak out. You don't need to understand what's happening here. But basically, when you're actually making calls and you're using these APIs and you're talking to the ChatGPT API programmatically, you have what's called a system message. You may be familiar with this already from the playground, but essentially this top line is called the system message, and that's the instructions you give to the entire chat experience. So all the messages that come after are going to be instructed based on what the system message is. So in the playground, you may be familiar with it. On the side panel, you have the system message. So in this case, it says, "You are a helpful assistant." We could say, "You are Krusty the Clown, speak like Krusty the Clown, and make jokes." And then whenever we send a message here on the user side of things, which lines up with these also, by the way, it's going to take into account the system message, and then it's going to answer and give us a response. So that's what I mean by a prompted AI. What we have is basically, we need to give instructions to the AI on how to use the information we've just got back. So yeah, we've got the information about the elephant, but we need to now generate an answer using the AI. So the instructions that we give in the prompt to this AI is going to directly determine the answer we get back. So if I tell this thing in our system prompt to deal with this elephant question, "You are Krusty the Clown, make jokes and answer questions that the user asks," it will eventually give us the answer to our question, but the instructions told it to speak like Krusty the Clown. So that's why this prompt and really the instructions you're giving to the AI on how to deal with this information is so key, and it's one of the major and most important parts in the whole custom knowledge-based chatbot system, or at least using a knowledge base. So also here, it's important to note is how these actually come together. So yes, I said we are passing the user query. We are also getting the chunks from the vector database, but when it comes to actually sending it off, we are inserting the chunks that we receive. Say this chunks bit is replaced with 5 of those third of a page chunks we've got, and also the user query. So we can tell the AI that you are going to be given chunks of information that may be relevant to what the user is asking, and we're going to provide it in the prompt. So then when we pass the chunks in, we also pass the user query in. It's like, okay, I need to answer the user query with this information I've been given, and you can tell it in the prompt to be strictly using the information that came back. There's a lot of different things you can do here, but it's really important to understand that this AI plus prompt is really the magic step of combining what we've retrieved from the vector database, aka the most relevant information to what the user is asking with, combining it with the user query, and then asking the AI to generate us an answer. Going back to our full system here, once it's generated the answer, it sends it back to us as the response that we see appear in the chatbot. So I hope I've been able to communicate that as clearly as possible. It's really important to understand that the answer is actually being generated based off the information. So it's only going to have the information that we got from the knowledge base. You can't, that's what I'm saying. We only have this 4,000 token limit. We don't have the entire 10,000 or 100,000 tokens in the encyclopedia. We can only work with the information we have. And this is a common misconception about knowledge bases, is that, oh, you just throw it in there and it's going to know the whole thing. No. What it's doing is intelligently retrieving the information so that it's able to look like it knows the information. Really, all it knows is the most relevant info from your knowledge base regarding the specific question. So I thought I'd throw in an analogy just to help you understand this a little bit more. Say you are going onto Google and you're doing a Google search. Say you search up, how much does an elephant weigh? So the Google search that you may do, how much does an elephant weigh, goes to Google search algorithm, and it returns the most relevant results first. So you get the first page results of Google, and somewhere in there is going to be the answer to your question, right? And then what they do is, instead of passing it to an AI to dig through and check, we just pass it to you, the human, to dig through. And you know what the question you were originally thinking of is. Now you just have to pick through all of the information and find the bit that gives you the answer. In the exact same way, we have the system set up where the AI is given the most relevant search results from the vector database, and then it's given the original query. Okay, what were we actually looking for in the first place? And then it figures it out, looks through all the different chunks it's given, and then gives you the response. That's the best analogy I could come up with. I hope that's made something click in your head. Now, for those of you who want to go extra deep, I'll just put this on screen for a second here. Let's stay a little bit more in depth as to how things go. I don't expect you to understand this, but this is a system known as a retriever generator model. So we're retrieving the information and we're generating the answer. You can pause on screen and just take a look at this. This is missing a couple steps, but If you want to know how this really happens step by step, you can pause it, take these notes. But this is really what's happening under the hood with a custom knowledge base. And as I said earlier, there are some common myths and misconceptions that I must debunk in this video just for the sake of my own sanity from hearing it all the time. But also for you as someone who's soon going to be speaking to businesses and speaking to potential clients, if you're going to start selling these, you need to know this because you could sound like a real idiot if you say it in the wrong way. So number one, you are not training a model. There is no training being done. Training a model costs millions and millions of dollars and huge, ridiculous amounts of computing power. People like you and I do not have the means to train models unless it's some small one, maybe with a big rig that your friend has. I don't know. It's basically not on the cards for any of us. So training a model, we leave to the big multi-billion-dollar companies to use their resources and train models with new data. And that really bakes in information into the model. You are also not fine-tuning the model. A lot of people use this term. You are not fine-tuning a model when you have a knowledge base. All you're doing is making the right information accessible to the model to use in answering its question in sort of an intelligent and flexible system. I think the terminology of fine-tuning can be a little bit of a gotcha because in many ways when you're working with these kind of chatbots, you can go to the client and say, okay, I'm going to fine-tune the responses a bit, but that doesn't mean you're actually fine-tuning the model by its actual definition. It could mean just going back to the drawing board and tweaking the prompt a little bit and how the instructions you've given on how to generate the answer, you're going to change those instructions a little bit and fine-tune it in that way to really get the exact kind of outputs that your client wants. And finally, you are not teaching the model anything. It's not learning. You're literally just putting the right information in front of it to answer the question at the current time, and then it goes back to being just as dumb as it was before. So you're not teaching, you're not fine-tuning, you're not training. I thought I'd just get that cleared up right now. I will give a pass to one situation in which you can utter these words, and that is when you are talking to a client who is clearly not technical and he or she may struggle to grasp the real concepts that I've just taken you through now, and explaining that to them is probably going to do more harm than good. It does sound better and it is easier for them to understand if you say, we're going to train a chatbot on your data. And that's the only time you can probably use it. But I would just be very careful that you don't say it to the wrong person because they'll look at you as pretty stupid if you say that. Before we wrap up this section, I thought I'd throw one more analogy your way, and that's to help you understand these knowledge bases and how the difference between chatbots learning and you just giving them the right information at the right time is, imagine if you were to ask me a question about anything we've just gone over in this video. I would be able to give you an answer in a second because I know the information. It's already in my head. But if you ask me a question about your business's customer support documents, I wouldn't know how to answer it unless you gave me the document. So what I'd ask you for is, hey, can you give me some pages or some documents that are most relevant to answering this question you have about your customer support? You can give me the 5 documents and I can go, okay, that bit there, okay, yeah, I know the answer. The answer is this. That is the simplest way that I can explain the system. You're giving the AI a couple documents to answer the question. It's checking over all of the information and it's going, okay, this is the answer. The next key concept we have to cover is fine-tuning. We're going to blast through this one pretty quick, but basically, long story short, chat models, aka the OpenAI API models that we use for basically everything in chatbot building at the moment, they cannot be fine-tuned. It is coming soon. They say they're working on it later in the year in 2023. And the ones that you could fine-tune, the older models which you were able to fine-tune that weren't these chat models, are actually being depreciated. So you can't fine-tune the old ones and you can't fine-tune the new ones. So fine-tuning is basically off the cards. If you want a little bit of technical on how these fine-tunes actually work, it's narrowing down a model to a very, very specific use case. So for chatbots, this is basically useless. You're teaching it to identify a pattern and then respond to that in a specific way. For example, you could fine-tune a language model to identify a bunch of information scraped off a credit card statement and teach it to only identify alcohol expenses. If you gave it enough examples of the information and then the output you wanted, you could fine-tune it to be able to instantly pluck out alcohol expenses or something like that. So it's very, very small use case. And again, an important point to mention when it comes to fine-tuning, you are not adding new data to the model. All you are doing is teaching it to identify a pattern and respond to that pattern in a specific way. It's pattern recognition and pattern responding, really. Basically, forget fine-tuning. It's barely used anymore, and it's not really relevant for anything you're going to be doing in chatbot building. Next, we have prompting, which in its most simple definition is giving instructions to the AI on what it should do. So in our case for chatbot building, we're typically prompting the AI into acting a certain way or being a certain role, or maybe you give it a name. You say, your name is Dave and you do things for this business and this is how you do things. And this is basically the instructions you want to tell the AI on how we want to process our information, how we want to respond to users, what things to do, what things not to do. Now, prompting itself is a huge topic, and I've actually done 2 complete videos on this, which are long enough in their own right. So I'm going to link them here. If you guys want to check them out, it's going to be up here. It'll also be in the description. I can't cover it within this video because there's seriously so much groundwork you need to know, but trust me, these videos that I've got cover it from basically zero all the way to very advanced. And if you're able to watch that after this and then apply that to the chatbot building you do, you're going to be in a very good position. So everything I know and use on a daily basis is in here. And then you're also able to use the prompt templates and the actual prompts I'm giving away later in this video alongside the chatbots we build. So with this knowledge, and then having access to the templates that I provide and we find in my community, you're going to have all the prompting expertise that you need. So definitely check these out next, but just know for now that prompting is giving a set of instructions to the AI in the same way you'd give a human employee a list of instructions. This is what you need to do in your job. So that's about it for prompting. Next key concept is called intent classification, and this is a huge thing that you need to understand in terms of modern chatbot building. So intent classification is defined as the task of taking a written or spoken input and classifying it based on what the user wants to achieve. Now this is best explained with a diagram. So here on the left, we have a chatbot. Let's say for these purposes, it's a e-commerce customer support chatbot. As soon as a user sends a message, it's going to send it directly to the intent classifier function. Now this can be typically done with on the bot building platforms like VoiceFlow and BotPress. It's going to classify or attempt to classify what the user is asking for. And then if there's something that's been set up on how to deal with that specific intent, it's going to route the query that way and then kick off a bunch of functions. So basically, if they mention something specific that falls into a category, we can do a special thing. So this is great for keeping the chat open and basically allowing people to send whatever they want instead of giving them options. So you can either give them buttons and say, I would like to do this, I would like to do this, or you can just say, hey, how can I help you? And we're going to figure out what you want using our AI system. So for the e-commerce store example, we could have action 1 here, action 2, and action 3. I've actually got it here. Intent classification example. Say we have a message coming from the user. So first the chatbot asks, hey, how can I help you today? Leaves the floor open. And then when the user sends their message, we're going to run it through the intent classifier. We have a couple different intents set up. So firstly, they've mentioned something about shipping, like, hey, where's my package? Or can you update me on the shipping? In that case, if it fits that bill, it fits the intent of wanting to know more about their order or where they're tracking or what the status of tracking is, then we're going to send it to this one here. And then it's going to kick off a bunch of functions where we actually check that information for them. So in this case, it will go up and ask for the order number, capture the order number, check the system, and then give them the answer. Furthermore, if the question that they sent was like, hey, I've really enjoyed my product, it arrived just on time, I just wanted to say thank you. I mean, no one's really going to say that. But if someone did send that to a chatbot sort of spontaneously, we can have an intent set up that is, I've enjoyed my product, I'm really happy with the product, shipping was fast. Anything related to that kind of message, we can say, okay, we want to identify that and do a specific thing. And in this case, the chatbot could respond by saying, hey, I'm glad you liked your product and you liked our shopping experience. Would you be interested in leaving a review? So this is 2 examples of being able to catch something that the user has said while still leaving the floor open, but we can sort of pluck out specific things that we're looking for. And then if that thing is in the message, then do this. And it allows these AI chatbots, this is how you go from a pure AI chatbot to more of a modern one, where you're able to open the floor and let them talk and ask general questions, but we can pluck things out and do things that sort of pure AI chatbots can't. And the key thing here is that you can set up a default where you may just have a knowledge base on general customer support FAQs. And if none of your intents are triggered, say there's nothing related to shipping, there's nothing related to how much you love the product, so it's not going to be routed to the specific functions we've set up. We might have 2, we might have 10, we might have 20. If none of them are triggered, then we can just send it to a regular knowledge base with our customer support where we say, we've prompted our AI into thinking that it's a customer support agent and it's just supposed to respond to the query. So if the customer asks for anything outside of what we have built into our intent classifier, we can just send that to a customized chatbot and answer the question for them normally. I want you right now to really dial in the understanding of this concept is think of some kind of chatbot. Maybe it's a customer support chatbot like this, or it's a staff training chatbot, or it's whatever kind of chatbot you can imagine. In order to really drive this concept home, I want you to take your pen right now on your notebook and sketch out this little diagram here and pick an example of a chatbot. For example, a staff training chatbot for a construction company, which has all of their staff training documents included in it. What we want to imagine is if we have a couple different features. So say a staff training chatbot, what features might they want in the, they might want something where the staff could request time off, or they could report an incident on site, or they could this, or they could that. So take your idea and plan out what kind of features would actually be cool within a chatbot for us to be able to do actions for the business, and sort of set it up and connect it to some external things and actually do something outside just the chatbot. Now, intent classification makes up a major part of what we do with the advanced chatbots later in this video. I can't wait to show you guys those really, really interesting, similar examples to this, but you get to sort of see it in action as well. So just to recap, intent classification is a very, very powerful tool for chatbot developers currently. It uses AI to analyze what the users ask for, and from there trigger different actions to allow it to do external functions or do additional features. And this, of course, as I just mentioned, is a key component in modern chatbot building. Next, we have chat history, which within chatbot building can be quite a difficult subject, or quite a difficult thing to get to work properly within your application. So I wanted to touch on it here and just give you a little bit of a background on how it actually works when you're doing your different chatbot applications. Basically what the system for handling and remembering context within the chat is. So as we went over in the knowledge base section, we only have a limited amount of tokens to work with. And at any given time, the model that you're using for your chatbot underneath can only look at 4,000 tokens or 8,000 tokens or 16,000, depending on which one you're using. So in order for it to know about the chat history context, we need to be giving the chat history to the AI, including it in the prompt that we send away. On screen, we have a little bit of an edited example of what you just saw earlier, which is the same prompted AI concept where we're giving the AI a prompt, we're telling it what to do, but then we're also retrieving the most relevant chunks. But in this case, we're also adding in a section for the recent messages. This is where we can include some recent chat history as context in order to help it make its output. So in this case, you could prompt the AI and the system prompt up here and include it. This is going to be a lot longer than it is here. I obviously don't have room to fit it all in. But within that system prompt, you could say you are also going to be provided with some recent chat history. Use the messages provided to be aware of the recent chat history and factor that into your answers. So basically instructing it, you're going to be given chunks, which is going to give you the context for how to actually answer the question, the information that you need. Then you're also going to be given a section of chat history, which is going to give you a bit of context in order to properly answer the user's question, given the past messages as well. Now, given all of this information, answer the user's query at the bottom here. So a little bit of a clearer way of showing this is to put it right here. So imagine each time that we actually send a message off to the AI, say we send a message on our chatbot, every time we ask something, this is essentially the stack that's being put together before we send it away to the LLM to create the answer. So we have firstly the system prompt, which is going to be our instructions that you are Dave from Jerry's Gym or whatever it is. As we said, that's going to include the sort of you are to use the information provided in the context to create an answer, be aware of the chat history provided, you should not do this, you should do this, etc. That's a little bit at the top. And then we can add in the most relevant chunks from our vector database, from our knowledge base, being put in there as context to help provide information to answer it with. Then we can add in a section of recent chat history. And then finally, we can add in the user query. And then we bundle that all up and then we send that away to the, in this case, probably the ChatGPT API in order to get that responded to. And we send that back to the user as the final result. So this is kind of chat history, knowledge bases, prompting, everything built into one here on the screen. So I hope this makes sense, because this is kind of the icing on the cake on how things are really being assembled behind the scenes every time your user sends a message. Next key concept you need to understand is deployment. Now this is a quick one, just wanted to make sure everyone's on the same page because I will be using the term quite a lot. We have deployment is how you're going to get your chatbot out. How is it going to be exposed to customers? How are people actually going to use it? Now, it's all good and fine and dandy to build these chatbots within these bot builders, as we're going to do later. But when it comes to actually providing value to a customer, it's very, very important. Where is this thing even going to be? Is it accessible enough? Are people going to be able to use it? So we have a couple different deployments on screen. Web chat, of course, is a very, very popular one. You can create a chatbot on these platforms and then just put it as a little bubble in the bottom right corner and people can access it. You can put it on specific pages of the website, or you can put it on every page of the website, or you can even take these chatbots all of the time and put it in a sort of full page chatbot example and still put it on the website. Then we have WhatsApp, which is very, very useful, very, very simple deployment and works very well for some industries and not so well for others. Some industries are very, very prone to using WhatsApp, and if you can deploy something there, it's very, very basic. It seems basic, but you can build a lot of cool functionality into it. Then we also have Facebook Messenger, so you can deploy to Facebook Messenger, and you can also run Facebook ads to this messenger. So it really ties into a completely different side of the chatbot realm when you can actually run ads to these chatbots and start to do lead generation and things like this. And then finally, you can use Twilio for SMS and be able to chat with these chatbots via SMS as well. So this is really just scratching the surface. You can do Discord, Slack, all these different things. Basically anything you can imagine you can deploy to, but these are kind of the main ones you'll be looking at a lot of the time. Now, the key concept section would not be complete without covering a little bit more of the jargon. First off, we have APIs. APIs is an acronym for Application Programming Interface, a software intermediary that allows two applications to talk to each other. So that's obviously the technical explanation for it. Now, in order to understand APIs, which are a huge part of chatbot building, you're going to be calling APIs within your chatbots to perform external functions, to connect your chatbot to outside data sources, and to go to Zapier and make and things like this. So it is absolutely crucial that you understand how these work, because you are going to be building them. And this is about as technical and as codey as you're going to need to know, because you're actually going to be using these pretty regularly within your chatbots. So in order to understand APIs, you have to understand how the web works really, which is by requests and responses. Now, when you run up a web page, say you search up google.com, what you're doing is sending a request to Google server, and what they're doing is sending the information for that web page back to you. And now that's loading on your screen as a web page. Now, that doesn't necessarily need to be an entire web page. The URL in your browser is not just for finding websites, it's also kind of like a phone. So you can make contact to different available resources on the internet. So when you type in a specific address, you're basically sending a request to that address with, hey, I want to get some information from you, and it can send it back if it's a valid URL and if you've provided the right information for it. So the way I can explain requests and responses in this case is that, say you are sitting at home and you want to order some pizza. You need to first find a pizza shop, and you need to find their phone number. Now, their phone number is exposed to the world that they can call. It's open and available for people to make requests to. So you can call the pizza shop up on their specific number, and you can tell them exactly what you want. And then in no time, you're going to have the pizza arriving to your door as the response. So when you replace the values, instead of yourself, you have either your application, which in this case will be a chatbot, or the browser on your phone. You make a request to a specific URL, or what's called an endpoint. And depending on the URL or number you've called, there's a set number of things you can get back from them. You need to include in your call, in your request to the specific URL or number, what you want back from them. And then if everything checks out, say you have the right authentication, you've given the right password to get in, which is where API keys come in, the server is going to process that request and send the information back. And this, of course, when it comes to the web, is information moving back and forth, not pizzas, of course. So you're making requests to specific URLs or endpoints. In this case, I might have the liamotley.com API, and you may be requesting to get from my photos. Maybe I have a gallery, I have a photo section. You may be requesting the first photo or the photo of ID number 1. You're requesting, hey, can I get photo ID number 1? And then it goes to the server. Okay, yeah, this all checks out. Then it's going to send that data back to your application or to your computer. And maybe within that data, there is a URL to the actual resource location of my photo. When it comes to API calls within chatbot building, a good example is capturing lead data. So say your chatbot is chatting away and a client is tapping away on it, and your chatbot sends a message and says, hey, would you like us to contact you via email, or you get in contact with an expert? And they go, sure. And then you can send, hey, please provide your email and your first, second name. And then once you have that information, what you can do within your bot builder is send that information off to Zapier, and Zapier is going to process it, or if you use make.com or something similar, it can process that and send that onwards to a Google Sheet or to put it into your database, whatever you want to do with it. But in order to send this data out of your chatbot, you need to make a request. So what you're going to do is you're going to be provided, as you can see here, Zapier is now the pizza shop, and it's going to give you a link that you can send your data to. So what you're going to do is, in what's called a post request, there's different types of requests. Don't need to go that deep on it now. But a post request basically allows you to bundle up a bunch of data. In this case, it's going to be maybe the timestamp of when the lead was captured, maybe the first and last name, maybe the email of the person. It's going to bundle that information up, and it's going to send it in a request to a post request to Zapier, to your specific endpoint URL they provided you to. So they're basically listening, okay, we're ready to receive your information. When you send it, they're going to go, okay, great, we've got it. And then they're going to send you back a response and basically approving it. In this case, they're not sending any data back necessarily to you that you're looking for, but they're just sending back, okay, yeah, everything was good on our end. We've received your information and everything's been processed okay. So what you'll get is an okay response. And this is what you receive back a lot of the time in the responses from Zapier. And from there, on the Zapier side of things, when you're setting things up, you can basically pluck out the information that you sent in that sort of bundle of information you sent away to Zapier. You can pluck out the name, you can pluck out the timestamp and the email, and you can set that to different forms or different columns within your Google Sheet or wherever you want to send it. And so basically you can analyze what information you're getting back every time and tell it what to do with it so it can do its job. And another easy example of an API call within a chatbot could be part of your chatbot needs weather information, and when the user says, give me today's weather, you make a call to a weather API, you request a specific date range of information, say, I want the weather for this week, and it's going to request it, and it's going to pull the information back, and then you can use that within your application. So it's all about requests and responses. Sometimes you're sending information away, sometimes you're asking for it in return, but it's all about the sort of back and forth and the information you're sending and the information they're sending back. Final bit of jargon I want to touch on is agents. These things obviously had a big explosion of growth when AutoGPT and things like this came out. And I thought I'd just do a little bit of an explainer here just to make sure you're on the same page and the difference between strictly a chatbot and an agent. So the official definition, if there is one, an agent is a program that is designed to perceive its environment, make decisions, and take actions to achieve a specific goal or a set of goals. An agent operates autonomously, meaning it is not directly controlled by a human operator. Now, the key word there is autonomously. It's best to explain this with an example. So say I have set up a travel assistant agent. This is the guy in the middle, looking happy there. An agent's job is essentially to take a task, break it down and analyze it into all the different constituent parts of it, and then start to do those one by one in order to do a sort of multi-step and more complex task. One example of a question that I could ask, say I made an agent that's a travel related agent. It has access to Expedia, all these different sites, Skyscanner. It has access to a bunch of tools. Now this is important, we'll touch on this later, but the input is going to be something like, hey, plan me an ideal vacation in Europe for a week in July. Now the agent is going to take that in, is going to analyze it and say, okay, how do I start to break this down? First, I need to look up what are the best places to go in July? Where are the good places to go in Europe in July? Okay, I'm going to first do that. And so once it's got this list of to-dos, that initial list of, first I'm going to search out the best places, then I'm going to narrow that down to 3, then I'm going to analyze those 3 against the original question, then I'm going to check Expedia for any hotels or things in the area, then I'm going to go and book flights, check flights as well. And basically, once it has this big list of to-dos, then it goes on to using the actions that you've set up available to the agent. So in this case, it might use the Expedia API, or it might just Google search in general, ask for where's the best places in Europe. Once it's got a couple ideas, it might start checking Skyscanner for flights. Okay, what's the cheapest flights, or what's the best flights? Where can I get direct flights if it's going to work? So having a bit more information on the input in terms of, I want it to cost around this much money, I don't want to do any multi-stop flights, those kind of bits of information would make it a lot better. But once it's gone through this process and it's actually pulled this information, gone through its list of to-dos, and then it can create a final answer and really evaluate that. So it will check the final answer since you've gone through so many steps, and it will go back and say, have I actually answered the question? And then if it can confirm, it will give it back to you. So agents, they do a lot of different tasks. They can do step-by-step things and think on their own, really. And you need to give them access to a bunch of tools, really. They call them tools. There's different words for them as well. But essentially a bunch of different functions that they can do, a bunch of ways that they can interact with the real world and with the internet at large in order to get something done. So when it comes to chatbot building, you are not going to be building agents strictly. That is quite advanced stuff. But what you are going to be able to do potentially is connect an agent to one of your intent functions. Say if we had a chatbot and the user said the same query, plan me a vacation in Europe for a week in July. You could have an intent classify setup where if they ask for some kind of plan, you could pass it to an agent that you or someone else had created. It can run through all these complicated steps, send it back via an API call, and then you can give that answer to the user. So if you can create an agent, or you can find ones to use that are external, and you can include them in the functionality of your app, and that is one way that you could potentially use agents in your apps. And with that done, I want to give yourself a big pat on the back. You have completed the theory, you have completed the explaining the opportunities, the different types of chatbots. Everything you need to know, you now have the foundation that we can build on top of with real skills. You've done your college, now you're going to go into your apprenticeship. You're going to actually start putting it into practice and getting some real world experience. So I'm really excited to jump into the next section, which is building these chatbots live. Maybe go take a bathroom break, refill on the coffee, because we've got a lot more to go here. So let's get stuck into it. Okay, so what are we actually going to be covering within this live chatbot building session? So firstly, we're going to be doing some prototyping using the prototyping tools that I mentioned. I'm going to show you how to quickly use chat-based AI and also Cody AI, and I'm giving you a little bit of background on how you can use each of them and what the sort of workflow is with them. Then we're going to be jumping into VoiceFlow, which is the bot building platform we're going to be using for all of the advanced builds in today's video. And I'm going to be going over a bit of an introduction and orientation so you're familiar with everything. And then we'll jump straight into building the 3 different types of chatbots. Now, it's not just going to be 3 chatbots, it's going to be 2 versions of each of them. So a basic customer support and an advanced customer support, a basic staff training and an advanced staff training. basic lead generation, and an advanced one, and so on. There's a lot to cover. I'm not going to waste any more time talking. Let's jump straight into using these tools. So the first prototyping tool we're going to use is called Chatbase. All the links to all of the tools and platforms and softwares I'm using in this video are going to be available in the description. So just head down there. You can find links to all of them. Anyway, we're going to jump onto their website. You, of course, are going to have to make an account. Once you've created your account and signed in, you'll be greeted with this page here. Once you're logged in, you're able to go to the My Chatbot section and then click on New Chatbot. And creating a custom knowledge chatbot, which is what we're doing here, as easy as literally dragging in a file or dropping a link to a website and so on. So in this case, I'm going to show you how to create one with a file. So in this case, I've got some different documents that I'm ready to put in that we're going to be using throughout this section. This one is a customer support template or handbook really for a gym called Jerry's Gym, which is an imaginary gym that I've made up and got a document for. So I've uploaded this, it's ready to go. It's within my 400,000 character limit. Depending on your plan, you can add more context. So when you go to a website, if you scrape a really large website, you might need to upgrade your plan in order to be able to chat over everything. But in this case, Jerry's Gym's doc is well within the bounds within our free plan. So I can create my chatbot. Let's get this thing out of the way. And then just like that, within a few seconds, we have a custom knowledge chatbot for this Jerry's Gym document. So I can say, what are your PT plans? Prices, and it's nice and snappy and quick. That's one of the reasons I like Chatbase. It's so quick when you're doing this prototyping. It's really good to see. And you can say, what about normal membership prices? That already gives you a pretty good idea of how this thing works. The key thing about Chatbase is that you can go to settings, you can scroll down, and then you can start to play around with the prompt. Now, prompting, as we've gone over when you have a custom knowledge chatbot, the prompt that you provide is really important because it's basically the instructions on what to do with the information that comes back from the knowledge base. I can tell him here to speak like a pirate and he's going to speak like a pirate. Or I can give it some very clear guidelines on, if you don't know the question, then do this. If you do know the question, then answer in this way. Or these are your goals. This is what you're supposed to be doing. So I actually have a prompt all written up and ready to go for this. So I'm just going to paste in the prompt that I've written before. I'm going to have this prompt available on my resource hub, along with basically anything else I'm going to mention will all be available on my resource hub. You can sign up and get access to all of it. They're all completely free. But this prompt is very good, I find, for customer support. It gives it a name. It tells them what the objective is. It tells, if it's in doubt, refer to the support email. And so on. Also things like how to format links. So if you're going to have links in your knowledge base, it's important to be clear about how you want it to reply. Sometimes you can get it to put it in Markdown and essentially put a live hyperlink into the chat. So it's important to have a bunch of these things in there. So feel free to grab that prompt template and use any of the other ones that I'm mentioning in this video. It's going to be on the resource hub in the description. Then once you've set this up, you can really do whatever the platform allows. So in this case, we can go to integrations. You can add it to a Slack workspace, but more so for Chatbase specifically. As I said, this is very good for prototyping, spinning up a quick demo, sending it to a client. So what you can do is you can embed on a site. So you can go save changes. We can just skip the domains necessary. And then we get these two little scripts here. So this is an iframe that can be put onto a website, and that's going to display the entire chatbot interface. But then if you want the chat bubble, you can copy this and add it to the bottom. So I can copy this and head over to brackets. Now this is what you'd give to your client in order to put on their website and test out. So I've just got a little demo site here that we can spin the test up on. As you can see, I've just pasted in the script tag at the bottom of a website. Again, don't need to know too much about this, but this is how a client would be able to use it. You can pull it down here and I can start to chat away with it. What are your PT class prices? And there you go. Now, this is how you can prototype and send it to a client. This is why I like Chatbase. It's so quick and easy to get going. I've been able to prompt it, so it's manipulating my information how I want it to. And then I can even give this to a client and they can put it as an iframe in their website, etc. You can also share it, which is probably the easier way to send it to a client. So if you click the share button and hit make public, we can copy this. Copy, new page. And then we have the chatbot as well. Where is your Boston location? And there we go. It's replying. And there we go. It's all working nicely. One other feature you have within Chatbase is the actual design and the layout of things. So you can come to this chat interface. You can play around with the theme, light theme, dark theme, suggested messages, user message color, and things like this. So if you want to match it to your client's coloring and the way that their website is styled, then you can do the same there. So that's Chatbase, really nice and quick and dirty. Great for spinning up prototypes, as I said. And that's about it for Chatbase. Feel free to use it as you wish, have a play around, whatever you need to do. Next, we're going to be doing some prototyping on Dante AI. It's a little bit different to Chatbase. And if you want to follow along, there's a link in the description. Some of them are affiliate links. So if you want to support myself and the channel and some of this free stuff that I do, feel free to use the affiliate link. If not, I'm sure you can see the URL on screen. Once you've created a free account, you should see something like this. Just a basic dashboard here. What we want to be doing is creating a custom knowledge chatbot to spin up a prototype with here. So what we need to do is create a new knowledge base over here on the left-hand panel. Click create new knowledge base. Now, as I said in the earlier stages of this video, we can either upload video URLs and add sort of 5, 10 different URLs, and it's going to pull the information from that video, from the YouTube video, sorry. Or we can be providing a URL to a website here. So I could put my personal brand website and ask questions about the information on the site. But for simplicity's sakes, I'm just going to upload the same document, Jerry's Gym, and I'm going to create it. And then I'm going to name this Jerry's Gym, and then I'm going to create the knowledge base. So there is a limit on how much you can do within this free tier. So when you're doing this, you may want to keep your documents fairly small. Otherwise, you're going to have to upgrade. I got in touch with the team and they've upgraded me to the professional one, so I can show you guys some of the other features they have. But the key thing that I've noticed when I was playing around with this and prototyping on my own is that there is a limit to the size of the documents you can put into your knowledge base on the free tier. So if you're testing this out, just want to check out how good it is and if you like it or not, be sure to use a document that isn't beyond that limit or you're going to have issues. But once we've created this, we have the knowledge base on the left. We can choose to speak to it. Now we can say, what are your PT class prices? And then we have, we're getting the same sort of responses. I do like the strength of chat history here. So if I say, what about for normal memberships? So here I've tried to ask a sort of contextually aware question and ask it, what about normal memberships? When I've asked for the price of the PT classes before, it said that there's no information about the cost of a normal membership. So it is picking up on the chat history context. However, it's mentioned that memberships are paid monthly in advance, etc. Now let's try it again. Can you provide the link? And there you go. So this is one of the reasons I like Dante AI, because the chat history is actually really good. An issue that I often have with platforms that I'm trying out is that when you're asking contextually aware questions, it doesn't pick up on what you're actually talking about. And ChatGPT is absolutely our enemy in a lot of ways with this. You'll find very quickly when you're dealing with clients that a lot of the time they will try out your demo or the product you've made for them, and they'll come back and say, this is like nothing at all like ChatGPT. It's not doing anything. And it's because, yes, we're using custom knowledge bases. It's a hacky way to get around the token limit and add new knowledge to it. We're not training it in and cooking the information in at the base level. So having a chat history on ChatGPT is fantastic. So you need to get as close as possible on this side of things as well. And so by now you may be wondering, what's the difference between this and Chatbase? I'll show you if you give me a second. So first of all, you can do the prompt editing, same as within Chatbase. I think this is actually a paid feature within Dante AI. So you will have to upgrade to their basic plan for $9 or $20 a month or something to get access to it. But I can do the same thing here. I drop in the prompt for my Jerry's Gym AI. So I can put that in there and then I can go next step. And then depending on the level of your plan, you have access to all of these cool functions. There's a ton of really cool customization features here. Firstly, I can edit the suggested messages here. So I can add another one saying, how can I sign up for PT classes? So we can have suggested questions down here in the bottom right, so that as soon as they hop onto the chatbot, they can click one of them. It's a lot more user-friendly to help them find frequently asked questions. You can remove the Powered by Dante depending on your plan. You can remove this microphone, etc. So there's a whole bunch of things, custom styling, custom fonts even. I really like the editor, and it allows you to make a really customized experience when you send it over to your client as a prototype. There is also the opportunity to do custom URLs depending on your plan. I believe you have to be on the $300 a month. So it's definitely very up there and probably not something you want to do initially, but being able to put this onto a custom URL, and instead of having the Dante AI URL, you can actually put a client's custom domain on it and be able to have the sort of white labeled and customized a chatbot, at least for the client to use. So that's a big step up, and I haven't seen many of these prototypey kind of softwares allow you to put it out on a custom domain like that. So one of the features I really like about Dante AI. So if I confirm all those edits, I now get a direct link. As I can see here, if I paste this over, I can have a chat to my chatbot here. What are your membership plans, etc. This is the kind of thing you'd send over to the client. More importantly, though, you can go back and you have an iframe that they can put it onto their website, so they can embed it into one of their web pages. And then you also have the chatbot bubble, the same as we had previously with Chatbase. You can copy this and then put it onto their web page, as I just did before, and it will pop up as a little bubble down the corner. So all your favorite kind of deployment options with one of these prototyping tools. But one of the key things about Dante AI, which I really like, is that it's mobile responsive when you're on their web page. So in this web page version, the web chat, if I inspect it, this is just explaining it how it works on a phone. But basically, when you actually have this web page up on your mobile, it's going to look normal. The proportions are going to be right, and you're going to be able to do all the things that you'd expect to be able to do on it just through the web browser on your mobile phone. So This is a great prototyping platform with a lot of flexibility, a lot of customization in terms of the styling and the prompting, etc. So really like this, and as you can see, it is a little bit different from chat-based. Pricing is different, but I thought I'd run you through this one as well, just to give you an idea of what it does. And just to give you a quick look at the pricing on this, they have some really good lower tier options, $15, $30, which tend to do a lot of the different functions that you need. So have a play around, see if you like it, and if not, there's another one coming, so we can check that out now. And finally, the last prototyping platform I want to cover is called Complete AI. This is a little bit different to the other two as they have been. This one gives you slightly different use cases and different deployment options, so this can be very good for some cases. And I just really want you guys to have a full view of the different prototyping options you have and how they can fit into dealing with different clients. As always, you can sign up to Cody in the description below. I do have an affiliate link for that one, so if you want to support me, please use it. Once you're signed up for an account with Cody, you're able to come onto this dashboard here. And now, quick orientation, we have the chat, we have bots, content, and account. Where do you want to start in terms of creating these custom knowledge chatbot prototypes is to go to content. Now, in this situation, you can see I've created 3 different folders, one called Client 1 Customer Support, one called Client 1 Marketing, one called Client 1 Reporting. Now, this is the real point of difference for these chatbots made by Cody AI, is that you can create these different folders, as you saw earlier in the video. And by creating different folders, it makes it much more easy to not only manage the different information that you want to have access to in different chatbots, but also update them over time. So I've got a new reporting document for a client. I have a chatbot that's put onto their Slack, and it allows their managers to chat to it and get reporting information. Whenever a new week or month finishes up and we have a new report, I can easily come on here and throw the report in there, and then without the client having to do anything, it's just going to update the knowledge base, and they're going to be able to continue to chat with it as if it just happened magically. So I really like the folders featured here. It can be very good. So in this example, my client 1 could be an e-commerce store, and we have a folder for their customer support related documents, a folder for their marketing related documents, and a folder for their reporting related documents. And so I can create a chatbot, as you're going to see in a second, to connect to the customer support documents. And then I could use that to put onto a web chat pop-up so that people can ask questions on their website, etc. So that's going to handle the customer support. And then when it comes to internal reporting, I can connect that to the Slack channel, as I just mentioned. They can have a chat away to it, and I can continue to upload documents. And then for anything related to marketing, I can have its own sort of silo of information that I can add to over time. And this is a great way to keep things segmented and be able to update them in real time as your client needs them. And so to demo this, we can open up the customer support document. I've got my Jerry's Gym document in there already. You can just upload it here. It takes websites. You can drop a link on it as well. They don't have the video URL option like Dante AI does, but you can still import a website and strip the sitemap. You can upload a document as I've done here. And then we want to go back to bots. And I'll just delete this one for now. Then we can go up to new bot on the corner. And then it gives you a bunch of cool, for you guys who are not too familiar with prompting and things like this, there are some great presets here. So if you want to click on a factual one, more of a document question and answer, if you want to click on customer support, they have a preset for that. Now what these are all doing is, as I assume under the hood, each of these different buttons has a specific prompt that when you click on it, it's going to use that prompt in your chatbot. So not rocket science. They've probably just tested a whole bunch of different options until they've got a couple that work for different use cases. Now, because we're super smart and we've done all our chatbot theory just earlier in this video, we can actually go to the advanced mode. Yes, I know what I'm doing. And now we get control over the prompt. We get control over the system prompt as well. This relevance score as well. So there's quite a lot of features under the hood for Cody AI, which is really surprising for a platform like this. And then there's even token distribution. I love this. So you can change how much context, how much history, and really have a lot of dials that you can play around with. So I'd say Cody AI, in terms of a prototyping platform, is really pushing the limits in terms of how far these things can go before you have to get into the more advanced options. But they've done a really good job to show a whole wide range of options and settings that you can change. And for someone like me, this is heaven, because there's so many different ways that I can tweak it. And options for me as the bot developer to try to fix it if it's not working the way the client wants. In this case, I'm going to leave all of this the same apart from the prompt. As you've seen before, I'm going to be using this prompt that I've used in the previous sections. So we've got my name is Dave, an AI assistant tasked with answering questions about Jerry's Gym. Then we can go next. Bot name, we can call this Dave from Jerry's Gym, and do the same there. And so here's the different models you can select. If you get the premium one, you have GPT-4. In this case, we just need GPT 3.5, which will do fine. And then here's the key bit. So I can easily select which folder I want to get the knowledge base from. So in this case, this is Jerry's Gym customer support. I'm going to click on the customer support checkbox. But if I was making Jerry's Gym reporting, I could just click on the reporting option there, easily create a chatbot, and then deploy it to wherever we want to do it. So I can create this now. I can chat to it by clicking this. Instantly I pop in, hi Dave, See how Dave's doing. What are your locations in the East Coast? And boom, Boston. It's giving the links as well, so it's using the prompt where I've told it to deliver it in Markdown. Yeah, this is great. And I've really copied the ChatGPT UI here, but the more important part for us is not necessarily using it within this, but we can share it. We can turn this on. You guys are going to see my link, but I can copy this and have a chat over here. I can show the client this. I can send this to them for testing. They can do the same thing. Hi, Dave. What is your support email? So this is the web chat deployment option that they give you. I know it doesn't look great like this, but there are a ton of different customization features that you can do. So feel free to play around with that. You can also get it on one of these bubbles. And just like the other prototyping options, we have a shareable link that takes you to the full web page. We have an option to embed it on the site as an iframe, so it just blocks into their existing website. Then we also have the pop-up embed that you can add to a little bubble in the corner. You do have to add the domain if you want to actually test it, so be sure to get the domain and put it in here. There's a little bit of info here in terms of how you can make wildcards so it shows up on every page, etc. But this is a little bit of setup you can do, and that gives you a clear idea of how you can use Cody. You can get different folders and create different knowledge bases for a client. You can manage it all. You could be managing 10, 20 different clients within this content hub, really. And you can set it up exactly how I have client one customer support, client one marketing, client one reporting, create all the different bots. And the cool thing about Cody is that once you've built all these different knowledge bases out and created the bots, you can super easily connect them to integrations. As you go to account and integrations here, you have Slack, Discord, and Zapier. Zapier is actually coming soon, but Slack is a really big one. If you're going to be working with companies like marketing agencies and any company really that's using Slack for communication, you can create a chatbot, you can add it to a Slack channel and make it available to chat for all of the people in the workspace. Really cool deployments, and I think you guys are going to think up a ton of cool options for this, but this is another prototyping platform that I like to use. As you can see, it's different to the other ones. Each of them is good for their own little thing, but that about wraps it up for prototyping. We can actually get done with the basic stuff and start getting into the fun stuff, which is actually building powerful real bots with VoiceFlow. Now, the first thing you need to do in order to follow along with the next part of this tutorial is to sign up to VoiceFlow, which is going to be the chatbot builder of choice for the rest of the tutorial. It is a very powerful platform, and there's a number of reasons why we're using it. Mainly because I think if you guys are going to be learning a new skill and really starting to become a chatbot developer, you need to be starting off on something that has enough depth where you can build a really expert skill set. Now, saying you're a chatbot developer on Cody AI, there's no depth to the platform. The reason I'm really liking VoiceFlow at the moment is because there is so much depth to it. I've been chatting to the team, and they've shown me how massive and how complex you can make the applications here. They have a ton of enterprise clients, so like large businesses, BMW, JP Morgan. Those big companies are using the exact same bot building software that we're going to be using today. So I figured if I'm going to start you off on a proper bot builder, why not choose the one that gives you the most sort of depth that you can learn and really become an expert on? Because if you're going to follow the skill and follow it, see where you can go with it, this is going to be your new home. So we may as well start to get you brought up to speed on how to use it and the different functions and features it has. If you are going to sign up and follow along, I would appreciate it if you could use my link in the description. It helps me to keep these resources free for you guys and continue to make these monster videos so that I can keep doing what I love doing. Also, before you dive head first and follow me into signing up for this platform, the pricing is also very affordable as well. It's going to be $50 a month for the Pro plan, which has a ton of great features, but you do have the sandbox option to follow along with me within this video. So they do have a free trial. I definitely sign up for that and get a proper taste of all the different options they have. But then beyond that, it's also a shared editor. So as you start to build a team, if you're going to collaborate with other people, it's a Figma style editor. So you can get multiple people on there working, leaving comments, doing all sorts of stuff. So I really like using this with my team at my automation agency. And another reason why I think this is very fairly priced is that it combines a lot of the features that I've been using with other softwares into one. So you basically have all of your bot building needs, knowledge bases and everything for $50 a month on the Pro plan. So definitely check this out just so you're 100% clear. Those are the pricing options. Now we can get stuck into using this thing. Once you're inside VoiceFlow, we have a couple things just for the home screen here. First of all, you have your team. Obviously, I'm with my Morningside AI team, so you can add different workspaces. You've got a resource hub, a education hub for them, which is great. So if you want to really take a deep dive into this platform and come up to speed even more after this video, definitely jump into this. They've got a ton of resources, essential tutorials here. They've got a YouTube channel as well. So if you really want to get ahead, feel free to dive into that. Back on the dashboard here, they have templates, which are really cool as well. So if you want to come in here, browse around the different templates they have, it might save you a bunch of time for a future project. Then they have what's new. The Discord community is great as well if you want to sign up to that. And then you have basically the invite section, so you can invite different collaborators. So if you have a team member you want to bring on, you can invite them here. And then you have the important button, which is to add a new assistant, which we're going to be clicking now. So in this case, we're going to be doing, it's called customer support. We can click build a new assistant, continue, select the channel. We're going to be choosing web chat for this one. As you can see, there's different deployment options. So you've been learning all the stuff, right? We've got the web chat deployment, we've got Twilio SMS deployment, we've got WhatsApp, we've got Microsoft Teams. One thing that I'm really looking forward to them dropping is this Facebook Messenger deployment, because that's something I like to do with my lead generation chatbots. But here you can go web chat for now, select the language English, and continue. So once you've got that, you can create the assistant, and then you're going to see a screen that looks a little bit like this. So this here is the voice flow editor. It looks nice and simple, which is what you want, but it does have a lot of features packed into it. Just walking you through, firstly, we have the designer tab on the left, which is what we're in right now. So this is called the designer. Then we have the all-important knowledge base section. So we're going to be adding some stuff into this shortly. You can add data sources up here, select the different types of data, all sorts of things. Then we have transcripts, which you're not going to need to worry about just now. Here's a little transcript from previously. You have analytics, which is a very important thing to have within these chatbots. You have the integrations tab, which is going to allow you to export the functionality to or query your knowledge base and all sorts of things. I think this is advanced, and we're going to be covering this probably in a later video, but there's some really cool functionality that VoiceFlow allows you to do out of the box. And then finally, you have your project settings, which is just some basic stuff, the name, global no matches, and your navigation methods. I'm using this on a trackpad. I need to probably change this over to trackpad now. And then there's a couple of different settings you can play around with there. Feel free to get comfortable. Down here, we have the number of tokens you've used on your AI usage. So they have a limit that you're allowed to use up in terms of AI usage throughout your different applications. I've obviously got quite a bit of token usage left. You guys will probably have a smaller amount based on the trial that you've started, but we can start jumping through the different features here. Up in the top left, we have the sort of home menu, which is going to allow you to do a whole bunch of important admin things with the chatbot. You can export it, you can clone it, you can go back to your dashboard, etc. We have different mouse types, as we've just been playing around with. You can leave a note, so I can drop it on here and say something. A nice way to just annotate it for your other team members. I can drop an image or a video in here. All sorts of different things. In commenting, of course, as I mentioned before, if I want to leave a comment, I can drop here and say my teammate's done something stupid. I can tell him that he's stupid right here. And then if I want to go into the NLU model, this is just basically a high level look at all of the different intents and things you've got set up. So we'll be probably using this a little bit later in the video when we're doing the advanced builds, but for now, we won't need to look into that too much. On the left panel here, we have topics. Now, topics are essentially going to be pages. Let's call them layouts or canvases maybe. This is the home topic, but I can create a new one and I call it topic 2, and then I can start an entirely new sort of page of my application, but I can still access it through the chatbot's sort of interface and through the flow of the conversation. So if I wanted to build something out within the home that links to an entirely new page, maybe it's like an entirely different section of the chatbot that's going to handle a very different bunch of features. Whenever the user hits a certain trigger in the home topic, we can shoot them over to this new topic. It might be the refunds topic or something like this, and we've got an entire page built out. It's just mainly for sorting the different parts of your application in order to keep it a bit clearer and not having it all muddled on the one page. We won't be needing this for now. Let's just close this down, head back to the home one, and we can delete this. And that's most of the orientation. We, of course, have the publish button up here, which we'll be using later. And then we have the run button. So whenever you want to test the functionality, as we're going to be doing soon, you can just hit the R key or the run, and it allows you to run a test of the bot. And then we have the share button. So if you want to send the prototype over to a client in the same way that we've done with the prototyping softwares, this of course has the ability to send over a quick prototype. So we're going to be seeing this very soon. You can change the branding, the appearance, as I've done here, invite your teammates, export, and all sorts of stuff. And up here, you can easily change the name of your chatbot to whatever you want. Just edit it here. I don't need to do mine for now. And I will mention one more thing, in that VoiceFlow has their own assistant down here. It's actually built on VoiceFlow. I've had a look at it. It is insane the amount of complexity these guys have built into their own assistant using their own technology. If you need any help, this thing is going to be very good at helping you out. So if you got any questions, if you don't know what something does, if you're running into an error, I really urge you to give this thing a go and see how much you can get done if you get stuck. So this guy will probably end up being your best friend as you're learning this platform. Now, with that housekeeping out of the way, we can jump straight into sort of checking out these features. Now, I've gone over this section a couple times and I've tried to walk you through all of these one by one and show you what it does. But really, without context, they don't mean anything. So the best thing we can do is just jump straight into building our first chatbot, and you can learn on the go. All of the concepts and things we talked about earlier in the video are going to come into play in full force as we're building this. Try to connect up the dots as to the things I've mentioned and how they look in real chatbots. But with that out of the way, we can jump straight into building our basic customer support chatbot with VoiceFlow. Now, my use of the term basic throughout this video is going to refer to something that's a pure AI chatbot. As I've mentioned earlier in the video, we have pure AI chatbots, old school chatbots, and we have these modern ones. And in this case, they're going to be custom knowledge chatbots. So I'd say a sort of infinite loop with a prompted AI plus a knowledge base. So we can get stuck into creating the knowledge base for this and then setting up this loop that's going to go around and around. Now, when you're approaching building a chatbot for a business, it is important to understand what your goal is and what you're actually trying to achieve, not only for you as a developer to know when you've got it right, but to clearly communicate to the customer what to expect. So you'll find a lot of the time, if you don't get the balance right between expectations and what you're actually able to deliver, you're going to have issues with clients. It's important to say this chatbot is a basic customer support chatbot. It is intended to deal with 80% of the common queries that we're going to get. In this case, we're going to be talking about an e-commerce store called Pet Supply or PetSmart or something, whatever I've called it. All of the information that I've included in the knowledge base document is meant to handle these 80% of questions. So it's not meant to be a be-all and end-all solution. It's meant to say, I don't know, and send it off to a customer support email when it's a more complex question they can't answer. So the 80% is still going to be a great help to the e-commerce business. And we're going to work to build this first at an 80% rate. And then when we go to the advanced one, we're going to try and really push the boundaries and set something up that's going to basically eliminate the entire customer support team. Now, the most important thing to get right for one of these to work, how you expect, is obviously the knowledge base itself. So when you're making a custom knowledge chatbot like this that relies so heavily on a knowledge base, it's important to make sure the knowledge base content and the document is actually good and high quality. It has all the information you need, because that's going to really sting you in the butt if you don't have the right information available. So here is an example of an e-commerce store called Petmates that I got ChatGPT to generate. It's not very good. This is probably not a great example. So here's one for a Jerry's Gym one, the example we used before. Now, this is a lot closer to what you actually want to be working with. There's a bunch of background information about the business. We've got the contact information section, which has got the support email. We've got the gym locations, the billing inquiries, app support, all of the locations and addresses, etc. So this is really in-depth, offering trials, FAQs, as much information as you can get. And throughout it, we are dropping the links to the support email. So if this happens, then send to the support email. We also have links to the parts of the website. When it answers a question that's related to a membership system, it's going to send them a link to Jerry's Gym prices. So having the links included into the document for these kind of chatbots where they're dealing with 80%, it's ideal for you to have the links included in the resource document so that it's able to send those through in the chat as well and really direct the people to the correct resources, since it doesn't have that full range of functionality to deal with everything themselves. But because the advanced version of the customer support chatbot that we're going to build after this is using the Petmates example, I'm going to be using Petmates as our knowledge base for this. So we are here on our homepage. We can head over to the knowledge base section. These resources and these documents are going to be available in the resource hub. So as I said, anything, the prompts, the documents as well, going to be available to download, so you can follow along step by step with this. Link is going to be in the description. First step is to go to add data source. We're going to add a doc. I'm going to click on the Petmates doc, load that in there, and it's going to load for a few seconds. Shouldn't take too long. So that's all processed and ready to go. Now we need to go to the settings section. And so in here, as you can see, I have the Dave prompt. What I want to do is actually spin this to be for petmates.com or whatever website we're talking about. So you can just go to ChatGPT and take this exact same prompt that you guys are going to be able to get, which works for customer support in most cases. Drop it in here, give a bit more information about the new company we want, and it's going to shuffle it around and make it about the company that you're looking to make it for. Change this prompt to be for a e-commerce pet product called Petmates. The name of the assistant is Annabelle. And there we go, it's writing this out. It's a great way to just repurpose the prompt for whatever different business you're doing. So feel free to take this prompt, send it to ChatGPT and say, hey, look, this is the business I'm working with now. Can you reshuffle this thing around to work for the business I'm working? So we can copy all of this. I head back. The exact version of this is going to be available on the resource hub, so you don't necessarily need to follow along here, but we can paste this in. I want the max tokens to be about 200. Temperature can be low. I'm going to be using Claude V1 for this, which I've been recommended is pretty good. So we can use Claude V1 in this case. Scroll down and save it. And then when it comes to your knowledge base, it's important to check that it's giving you the right responses. So what we can do is once this thing goes away, we can hit the preview button and then we can ask it a question. So we go, what information do we have in our resource hub? Okay, we can say, how can I return an item? To initiate a return, log into your Petmates account, go to order history, initiate return, log into your Petmates account. Yep, so that's responding correctly and it's telling us the right things to do. So we've got the knowledge base set up, we've tested it to make sure it's working, and then we can head back to the designer and start to actually set up a conversation design for this. So step one is going to be grabbing a text and dragging it out here. Now we can put in here, hi, my name is Annabelle from Pet. Put a little dog emoji. And there's a cool feature here where you can generate a couple different variations, so it's not always going to be the same. There we go. Hello, I'm Annabelle from Petmates. Greetings, I'm Annabelle from Petmates. And you can hit enter on each of these, or you can just hit command enter to save them all. Looks good to me. Then we need another talk step. So we're going to put another text one here. You can just zoom in on this. Say, how can I help you today? Okay, we're back for day 2 of filming. If you couldn't tell, it was getting a bit dark. So we're back the next day, got a new cup of coffee ready to go. So let's jump straight back into it. But while I have a moment, could you please, if you're enjoying the video, if you've got anything out of it so far, please head down and leave a like on it. It would mean the world to me. It helps me reach more people. It helps me continue to do what I do on YouTube. So if you're enjoying the video, please leave a like. If you like this kind of content and you're interested in seeing more, please subscribe and hit the bell if you want to be notified when the next one drops. I'm also going to be doing another one of my 20-minute consulting call giveaways. So if you want to go on the draw to win a consulting call with me, have a chat to me about your business, about chatbot building, whatever you want to talk about, I'm all yours. Go down below and leave a comment on the video telling me what you like about chatbot building, what you're interested in doing with it, etc., or the hardest thing that you've struggled with within this whole process. So I want to know more about you guys and what you're struggling with. It really helps me as a creator. So please head down below. There'll be some instructions in the pinned comment on how to get in the draw to win that. But best of luck, and I'm going to be drawing one winner every month. So this is going to be an ongoing giveaway. If you're watching this video 10 months in the future, you're still going to be able to get access to going into the draw to win that. So head down below, leave a comment, and I'll be replying to you, and then you can get in contact with me on Discord, and I'll be adding a name to the pinned comment as well. So best of luck, and let's get back to the video. So back where we left off, we have our first text card. My name is Annabelle from Petmates, and then we have the follow-up message as well. So we can connect this up here, and then if you want to quickly run and test your app, you can just click R, then we can hit run test. And then there we go. Conversation is ended. Great. Now, next thing is going to be hit escape. Then we can draw up here. We can take a listen step. So this is going to be capturing some information. We want to capture something that the user says after that. So hello, how can I help you? You want to capture that information. Now we get into the first interaction with variables within VoiceFlow. So this is a variable called last utterance. We have the last utterance, which is typically the last message that the user has sent. And then we have the last response, which is the most recent response that the AI has sent. So good thing to distinguish early on. In this case, we're going to be saving what the user says to us as the last utterance. We're going to be capturing the entire user reply, so the entire message they send. This is a little bit more complicated. We will cover entities later. But then this here is where we're going to be saving the response. So we're going to take the entire user reply. We're going to save it as the last utterance. Now we can save it to a bunch of different variables in here. I can create a new variable and I can save it to that. But in this case, last utterance is just fine for us. We're going to wait for the user to message us, and then we're going to capture that reply for later. So next step is to get a response AI blocks. These blocks enable you to send a message back to the user based on some prompting, whether you're using an AI model sort of out of the box or you're using your knowledge base. In this case, we're going to be using our knowledge base. And then we're going to be saying, answer the user's question. And then what we can do is reference the last utterance. So this is going to sort of insert what the last utterance will say there, and then it's going to inject it in there. So if I go preview, and I say, what is your refund policy? It's going to inject that into here, answer the user's question, what is your last refund, or what is your refund policy? And there we go, we're getting a preview back, making sure this is all working. And then the little magic here is that we can just loop this back up to the top here. So understanding how these little loops work is very important. So as you can see here, we've just got a little loop going where we ask them how they're going, and then we start the conversation. They ask us a question, we save it to the last utterance. We pass that to the AI to answer from a knowledge base, and then we just pass it straight back up and open the floor again. So let's see this in action. If I click here and go run test. Hello, I'm Annabelle from Petmates. How can I help you? What is your refund policy? And then it's going to take that question, save it as the last utterance, take it down to the AI, and then insert it into the prompt that we have here. Oh, and you can also click play from here, which is helpful. If we go, what is your refund policy? And then it's just taking it straight back up to the top, and we can ask another question. So it's just looping around. Now, understanding these loops is really important because we're going to be using them a lot. And this is how you can keep the AI kind of in an endless conversation. There's a couple cool features we can build off the back of it, but that's the basics right there. And then we can ask another question. How can I return my item? So how can I return an item to initiate a return, etc.? What about refunds? And then it's also working. So In this case, I've talked to the VoiceFlow team and they said that there is chat history here. So as we mentioned earlier in the video in the concept section, chat history is important, especially for these kind of conversational chatbots where you're working back with a customer support agent. So the chat history is a thing here. I will say it's not amazing. It's not the best. It's not super strong like ChatGPT is, but it is enough to have a little bit of context. I definitely think there's room for improvement on this. So I'll be talking to the team at VoiceFlow and seeing if there's anything that they can do to potentially crank that up and make it a lot more ChatGPT-like when it comes to chat history. So this is the basic loop for a customer support chatbot. Now, in this case, we don't have many links and things being put in here, but the knowledge base itself, say you're working with a different business, you need to include lots and lots of links to the different parts of the website. So say they ask about pricing or they ask to manage a membership, you can just be dropping directly from the knowledge base as your response. You say, hey, we can manage your prices here, or you can change this about your membership. Here's where you can do it, and you can provide the link. And so they're going to be able to click through to that and get all the information they need, or you can just start to drop the support email if there's any questions that are not within the scope of the chatbot. But this is a pure AI chatbot, just set up on a loop that's going to continually answer questions. So this is just the start, and what we're going to be doing now is going to an advanced customer support chatbot, which really expands all of this functionality. Lets VoiceFlow really flex its muscles in terms of what it can do for these kind of chatbots. So we're now going from a basic customer support chatbot over to the advanced side of things. Now, the first thing we're going to do is actually delete this connection here. Then we're going to select these like this, and we can just chuck that down there somewhere. And what we're going to do now is drag this out and get a new block, which is going to be called a choice block. Now, this is a very, very interesting and important thing within VoiceFlow. What we're going to do is set up a number of different intents so that the chatbot can pick up on intent from the user rather than just answering sort of from the knowledge base the whole time. So we're going to be building in a number of functions into this chatbot, as we've mentioned earlier in the video, to make it do cool stuff and not just be stuck in this endless loop of being a pure AI chatbot. So we're trying to identify that the user wants a specific thing. In this case, we're going to have things like they might want to leave a review on our e-commerce store. They might want to leave some feedback, etc. So we're going to build in a couple of different features. And then if none of those intents are detected in the user's message when we go around this loop, then we're going to just reply with the knowledge base as normal. So we're going to pick off a couple of different cool things and then have some sort of fallback, which is just, okay, we'll just respond with the knowledge base. Here we have the choices. What we're going to have one is add choice. Actually, we can just delete that. So we just need 3 paths here. So the first intent or the first function we're going to add to this is tracking, that the user might want to track their order. So we can come here and click on this. We need to create a new intent. So this is how you set up an intent within VoiceFlow. So we need to give a couple examples to the system, to the AI, to the natural language understanding system that's underpinning all of this. Give them a few examples of the kind of things that might trigger this intent. Well, in this case, we're going to be saying track order, and then we're going to say, where is my package? And it's how can I see where my package is? Can I get an update on my pack? Where is my order? So I'm giving these manual examples just to really fill this out. But what you can then do once you've got a couple good ones that are really like what you want to do, I like to click give 5 new utterances. So this is going to use AI to generate more like it. How long will it take for my order to arrive? What is the status of my order? Can I track the shipment of my order? Yep, these all seem good. So you can either go through and just press enter on each of these one at a time, like that. Or if you want to do, we'll generate even more. Make sure that they're still on par. As you can see, this utterance level, the strength bar here, the more examples we give it, the stronger this is going to be, and the better it's going to be at picking this up within the chat. So what you can also do, I will mention, is if all of these look good, what you can do is just hit command and return, and it's going to approve all of them. So this is going to save you a bit of time that I've found. Now we have our track order intent. So this is going to pick up anytime the user is asking about where their order is, and then we can do special things with it. So we can create that intent there. I'll just leave that there for now. Then we're going to create our next one, which is going to be leave a review. So in this case, we're looking for things like, I love my product. My order arrives so fast. I am very happy with my purchase. I highly recommend your store. So these kind of things where it's just raving about the product, recommending the product, etc. We want to be able to catch this and get them to write a review on the product, essentially. So I was very satisfied with my purchase. I'm impressed by the service here. So pleased with what I bought. Definitely will be back to purchase more, telling my friends. So we can just go command and enter on this. I do quite like all of those. And that's good. That's leave a review. We can create that intent, and then I'm going to create one more. This one is going to be something about looking for products. So looking products. In this case, because we're an online pet store, we're PetSmart or whatever I call us, we're going to be putting in some keywords for what people might be looking for in terms of a product. So what toys do you have for large dogs? For cats, what products do you have? Do you stock any dog food? So we can see what they want to generate us here, if they've gotten the right idea. What type of products do you have? Do you have any dog food? Do you offer any dog food products? Which products do you carry? Okay, that looks good to me. Maybe we can throw in some for cats as well. What cat food do you have? And now we can create the intent. So now we have our 3 different intents. So this is going to try and capture it as the message comes in. Same as before, we're going to ask them how they can help. But then we're going to essentially pass it through the intent classifier and give it a couple different routes that it can go before it ends up at the fallback. So the fallback in this case, we can set up here, which is going to be in the settings. We can have a no match and we can add it manually. Just going to leave this empty. I'm going to create a new path, and then what we can do is just route this over to here. Then we can take the no match and just route it over here for now and do the same sort of response AI step. And in here, we're going to have the exact same thing as we had on the earlier setup we had on the basic chatbot, which is just to answer the user's question. We can head back over here, add it in as the prompt, select the knowledge base and paste that in. Answer the user's question. Now we have all of the different intents set up in terms of the different examples, and it's ready to identify this message as it comes in. Now we need to actually set up what happens. So to do this, we can set up an intent here, drop this. And what we want to do first, let's start with leave a review. So when they come down here and we detect that they are wanting to leave a review potentially based on them loving the product, then we want to have an action. We can go to intent, then we can go to leave a review. This is essentially going to teleport us up to this part of the chat. So we're ready to start leaving a review. So if they reach this part of the conversation up here, they've probably just said, based on our intent, something good about the product. So I really loved the experience. The shipping time was so fast. So we can jump straight into sort of going for the throat here and asking for a review. So text, we can say, that's great to hear, because they've just said something nice about the business. And then we can drop another text card so it's not too sort of blocky. Then we can say, would you be interested in leaving a review? I can send you a discount code for your next order. Then what we want to do is use a new feature that we haven't touched on yet, which is buttons. So we can add a button here that says, yes, sure. And then we can add another button here by clicking add button and make it say, no thanks. And then if they say, yeah, sure, we can come up here and start a new block, add a new text card. So they've let us know that they're interested in leaving a review for a discount. So we can say, amazing. Can you please provide the product name and something you liked about the product and your experience shopping with us? With this, I can create a little message for your review. So we're going to use an AI feature just here to generate them a review based on like one sentence from them. So it really expands on the review, and then all they need to do is approve it. So we have that put in there. Then we can add a capture step in because we want to hear what they say. With this, I can leave a little message for your review. So we're going to capture the entire user reply, which is going to include a name of the product and something they liked about the service. And then we're going to take this up here, and we're going to use what's called a set AI step. So we've used a response AI before, which is going to generate a response back to the user. What we want to do is just sort of, the set AI can work without necessarily putting something out in the conversation. So it's basically like running a little ChatGPT function. You might send a bit of information to it, tell it to do something with it, and then you can save that information back as a variable and use that variable later on. So as you'll see, if we use the set AI card here, we can say generate review. So this is just the name of the particular card here. And we're not going to be using our knowledge base this time. What we're going to be doing is just processing the information that we got from the user, which is being captured in the last utterance variable. And then we want to prompt this AI into generating us a little message for them to send back. So in this case, I have the prompt ready to go. Now, if you see me go a little bit fast, do not worry, because all of these templates and everything I'm building here is going to be available on my resource hub. So at any point you want to copy some of this and not have to write it out by hand, you can head down below and grab the template. Then you can import it into VoiceFlow, and you have all of the stuff I've been working on all at your fingertips. And you can even just take that and start using it. So if you're struggling at all, if I'm going too fast, there is going to be the template in the description for you to go over yourself at your own pace and really pick apart what I'm doing here and why it works how it works. So, and really make it your own as well. If you want to modify it, feel free to do that and start selling it if you really want to. So the prompt that we're giving this is that the following is information from a customer on the product you purchased from our e-commerce store, Petmates, and what you liked about the product or experience. Don't mention e-commerce. Please create 2 to 3 sentence review based on this information that is cheerful and reflects well on the business. And then all we need to do is put a colon, and then we're going to reference the last utterance that we received here. So we ask the user for some information, we capture it into the last utterance variable, and then we just inject it into this prompt here. So what we want to do is create a new variable. I've already made it, but what you can do is just click the create new variable and name it the exact same thing. So we're going to be calling it tracking API response. And then in the prompt settings, we're all good. Maybe you can turn this temperature down a bit. I don't want it to be too creative here. And then we have the max tokens. We can probably bring that down a bit. And yeah, now we can do a preview. So if I hit this, we can actually test what it would output if we put something in. So I could say, I bought the doggy bottle, came really fast, it is super easy to use. So I like this with a voice flow, how you can very, very easily test the outputs. I absolutely love the portable doggy bottle from Petmates. I not only did it arrive quickly, but it's also incredibly user-friendly. I highly recommend this product and this wonderful company. I mean, it's a little bit overboard. You can prompt this more as you want, but I think for the purposes of this tutorial, this is going to be fine. Now we have our output from the review generator. Then we need to actually save the output of this to a variable so we can use it later in our application. In this case, I've already created it called review, but you can just click here on create a new variable and create one called review also. You can click here and it's going to save our output to that variable. And then we can add a text card and we can get the okay. So we're going to say, thanks. Is this okay to post for you? And then we can provide the review. This is just going to be, again, inserting the variable into the chat. So this is how the syntax for it is going to be using the curly braces around it. In this case, we're using the curly braces around the review object. And I put some quotations as well to let them know that we're kind of quoting what the review will be eventually. Then to approve it, we just need to add a button here. We can add looks great here. I want to add another button also. And we say, no, I don't like it. Okay, so now we have these two outputs. We're going to tell them where they want to go. We're going to have a talk step here. And we can have another talk step here. This is an interesting chance to take a look at the kind of design elements that make the editor of VoiceFlow feel a lot less boring and plain. So we can have a red block for the no route and a green block for the yes route. So it makes it a bit clearer without having to name all these different blocks. We can see very clearly what the sort of happy route or unhappy route is. So it looks great, or no, I don't like it. So to edit the colors, you just need to right click on it and it's going to show the block color, and you can use the slider, etc. You can add comments, you can save the library, all sorts of things. If the user approves it, we can say, amazing, I'll post this on your behalf now. Then if you're actually building this out with a real e-commerce store, you could either integrate it into their system to do it automatically, or you can use Zapier or something like this to basically take this information, send it to a Google Sheet for a VA to go through and start to add these reviews in manually once a week or once a day, whatever you want to do. And then if they say no, they don't like it, we can say, I'm sorry, I'll try harder next time. Please leave a review on our product page. I'm not going to bother within this application, but we could loop it back around and try to revise it and have sort of a back and forth with them until they're happy with it. But for the sake of this tutorial, I think this is good enough. This is the branch of leaving a review ending. A helpful little node to add a sort of a reset I found is to put a text one just here above what I'm going to call our main loop. So this is our main loop here. What we're going to do is, we can send this one back here on its own, but right here we can just make the chatbot say, how is there anything else I can help you with? Maybe we generate a couple different versions of it. Is there something else I can do for you? Sure, that looks good. It's good to name this one back to main loop. Maybe I'll give this a color. And then what we need to do is connect the back to main loop up to the main loop, of course. And then what we can do here is a cool feature of VoiceFlow is to be able to drag this and drop it here. And we can actually go to actions, go to block. And so here we can actually type in back to main loop. And now instead of having to draw this big arrow out that goes across the whole screen, we can just make this little thing here that's going to shoot them back over to this and start it again. So I think with that, we're good to actually test this out. We can click the run button here. We can hit run test. Now, because we've played around with our intents, every time you add new things to intents, new utterances and things like this, you actually need to do what VoiceFlow calls training. I'm not 100% sure what they actually do under the hood. I'm sure it's just bundling up the intents and putting that into a system-wide prompt or something. Anyway, you need to click this button and it trains it. I know we're supposed to not say that, but they do something here. I should probably figure it out. Anyway, you just need to give it a few seconds to dial in the natural language understanding system, and then we're ready to go. So hi, we can just restart this. Actually, just click on the plus button here, click on the play button on start. Hello, I'm Annabelle from Petmates. How can I help? So the first thing I want to test is that this no match is working, so that if none of the intents are triggered, we're still sending it to sort of a regular customer support knowledge base. So if I ask something about Nothing to do with ordering, nothing to do with reviewing, nothing to do with what products we're looking for. If I just say, what is your refund policy? It should route it all the way down to the bottom here and then answer it from the knowledge base. Yep, and our refund policy is great. So that side of things is working. Now we need to test if it's sent us back up to the top of the main loop. Now we can ask it, I'm really happy with my purchase. Boom. And then what we've done is it's taken us up to the leave a review section as we planned, because it picked up on our intent that we were happy with the product. And now it's taken us to this section up here, sort of teleported us up. That's great to hear. Would you be interested in leaving a review? I continue a discount code for your next order. And then we go, yes, sure. Amazing. Can you please provide a product name, etc.? I've just run into a bit of an interesting issue here, guys. So it's important that you see this stuff live. So what we've set up is an intent that listens for when they say they've loved the product, right? So if I say, that's great, would you be interested in leaving a review? Yes, sure. And I go, I loved my doggy bottle, came so fast, and my dog loves it. Let's copy that. Now, if I send that, we think it's going to go onto this generate review section, but what it's actually doing is jumping back to here. Here you can see it's important to come up here and click the debug mode actually. So if you want to turn that on, you can see a lot more, but we're jumping back to this leave a review section. Now what's actually happening is it's picking up on the intent we created originally to look. So what we need to do to fix this and to make sure it goes through to this generate review block is to click on this, come to the settings here. And then when it comes to intent scoping, only intents in this step. So that's going to prevent it from listening to global intents, and it's going to run through as we expect. So if we go here, leave a review, hit the play button. Yes, sure, I'd like to leave a review. I've also set up the no route here. You can see I've just taken no to go back to the main loop, and it asks, hey, how can I help you with anything else? Now we can paste this in here. I love my doggy bottle. It came so fast and my dog loves it. Now it's going to go to this step. There we go. Thanks, is this okay for you to post? The bottle is perfect for our walks and hikes. It's so convenient. Looks great. I'll post this for you. And then it shoots us back. Is there anything else I can help you with? And bang, we're back to the main loop. So that is one example of how you can set up an intent and build a cool little function around it. I'm going to start to speed things up now that you understand how intents work, how a lot of these cards work, what these AI things, the AI features do, and how we're kind of routing things around this app in general and going back to this main loop a lot of the time before sending them back to this. So this, again, where we are right here in the conversation is back on this main loop, and it's ready to pick up any intent from our questions, or it's ready to send us to the knowledge base. So again, if we say, what is your refund policy? It's going to send us down there. Okay, now I'm going to speed run through one more of these intents that I think I really want to show you guys how to use external API calls to get information or send information at least. First things first, we need to go to the event section, click on intent, drag it down here. So we have a new little area. I'm going to call this track and order. And then we want to have this go to track and order. So if the intent is triggered, we can go to track and order. Now, what I want this particular function to do is actually detect, first of all, via intent classification, if they're asking for an update on their order or they're wondering where their package is, etc. So that's going to trigger this coming out here. Then we're going to ask them for their order number. We're going to check our database and pull some information back on that order number, and then use AI to manipulate the response and give them a natural language response to where their package is. So first text is going to be, please provide us with your order number. So this is obviously coming off the back of something mentioning about like, where's my package? Because that is what was set up in the utterances for this particular intent. And sorry guys, if you're not sure what utterances are, that each one of these different lines or ways that you can trigger this intent is called an utterance. So we have intent, which is the whole thing, and then we have utterances, which are examples of showing that kind of intent. So just to clear that up there, first message here is going to be, please provide your order number and I'll check the status for you. Then we want to open the floor to the user to message us. So it's going to be a capture step. We're listening for a response. We're going to capture the entire user reply. Now, in this case, we could actually set up a custom entity to try to extract the order number, but it doesn't come sort of out of the box. So for now, we're not going to touch intents. We're just going to pass the exact order number and assume they're giving it to us in the right format. And then what we're going to do is come over here, send another talk step, and let them know that we're checking in on their order. And now for the real fun stuff, this is what I really like to do with these kind of bot builders, is to actually integrate it or make it access some external information and pull it into the chat and make it more contextual, make it more valuable, all that sort of stuff. So in this case, what you would be doing is taking that order number and then, depending on your e-commerce client, querying their after ship API or whatever, wherever they're handling the tracking, maybe even the Shopify API if you want to be pulling directly from the store, you'd probably be using a tracking API like after ship. In this case, I don't have an e-commerce client to do this on currently. So I'm going to be setting up a Zapier store just to put a bit of dummy data in and simulate how we might pull some information back. In this case, we're going to be making a GET request. So we're going to be asking to get information from my Zapier store. And that's going to be done with this URL here. Now this goes back to our API section where we're talking about requests and responses. In this case, we're going to request information on a specific order from our API. So to get this figured out, you're probably going to need to look at the documentation for the particular API that you want to use. In this case, I've already tested it all out. I can just paste in my Zapier store URL here. So that's basically the number that I'm going to be calling to get the resources that I want. Within this, there's going to be, as you can see over here on Postman, I've done a little bit of testing. This is the information that's going to be returned when we call it. So I have the order number, and then I have some tracking updates. I just generated this with Chase's dummy data, but ideally you'd be getting this from Aftership or something like this, and it's pulling back all of the latest tracking information. What we want to do is grab this whole thing based on the order number, and then we're going to pass that to the AI to write a response to it. So we have the URL, we have it set to GET. We don't need anything in the headers. We don't need anything in the parameters. Now I can't leave my Zapier store exposed for all of you to hop in and start pinging. So I'm not going to be able to show you the exact URL, but this is just a placeholder and a dummy for what you would eventually do with a client. So in this case, I'm going to create a new variable. It's going to be called tracking API response. You can create it here. I've already got it. What we're going to do is send a request. We can just click the send request button here. And it's going to, we've got a 500 error. So internal server error. Oh yeah, we got that error because I haven't put that s:// Then we can send the response. And there we go. We've got all of our information back. So this is being stored. If you just want to see, Zapier store is a very basic way of storing a bit of information. It's literally just a web page with this information saved on it. So you can add a ton here. I've just got the one, but in this case, we can pull this information back from the store, and then we can pass it over to the next part of our applications. We have the information, we're saving it to the variable of tracking API response, and then we're going to be taking that on to the next step. So if the API call succeeds, we're going to do something up here. Actually, it's going to be a JavaScript step. And if it fails, we're going to do something down here, and we can say a text step. Again, maybe I'll change this block color to be red, and I'll change this to be green. Okay, now in order to do something useful with the information we've gotten back from the API, what we need to do is first do a little bit of code. I know it looks scary, but don't worry. What we're doing is just calling the variable that we've just saved, and we're taking all of this code. Let's just call it code. It's called JSON, and what we're doing is stringifying it and turning it from this sort of object structure, which is a data type, just like sort of flattening it down, simplifying it down to just being a string. So we're just making it into something that we can pass around within our application and use within our AI query. So we're just using JSON.stringify. You're going to be able to get this code from the templates. It's very, very basic, so I'm sure you guys can probably just read it from there and copy it. And then what we need to do is take that information and create a response out of it. So what we're going to do is use the AI step here. We're going to use a set AI. Let's pop it here. And then what we're going to be doing is using the AI model. This is going to be summarize tracking update. So we've got a little prompt here. Please give us a brief status report to the customer who's asking about the order. Here is the latest tracking info. And then what we're doing is pasting in all of the information that's just come from the API that we've called. So we've made the API call, we've saved it to a variable, we've flattened that down into a string that we can use within this part of our application. And then we're using some example responses saying, given all of this information, these are the kind of example responses we want. And then also reminding that you're responding mid-conversation. It's not you need an introduction, just give us the message, and that's what we need to do. So we want to apply this to, I think I've already got it saved here, order update. So you can create a new variable and just call it order update. I'm going to save it there. And then we can actually preview this. So I'm going to preview it, get the information from here. This is the example that's going to come back from the API. Now we can generate and see what it's going to give us. Your order number 1234 has been shipped by China Post and has arrived at the original depot in Los Angeles, etc. So this is a good little update on the order that we can send back to them. We've done a good job to take the information from the API, process it, and now send it back. So we have saved this to our order update variable. Now we can just go here and go order update. Great. So now we can actually just test this quickly. So there's one little thing I missed out here. That's I need to add this response word into here. So make sure you've added into the capture response. We're also capturing what's called the response. A good way to debug this if you're having issues is to actually sometimes it'll be returning stuff, but not actually saving it or doing something wrong. It's actually a good idea to add a text card here and actually just put the response. So I was able to see it printed out in the chat what was going wrong. So if I go up here and I can play from this part again, it's going to print out what's actually being returned within the chat here. So there we go. I can see the information we're getting, and then this is the response it's getting. So now I know it's working. I can just delete this, come here, click that, right click and delete, and then we're good to go. There we go. So now we're getting a nice little response back. And then after that, we can just send them back to go to block, back to main loop. And if this doesn't work, issue with order information. And then we can just go again, actions, go to block, back to main loop. Sweet, so that's about as much as I want to do within this application for you all. So let's run through it quickly. We don't have this look for product section. That's sort of just dummy information there now. You can very easily add that in and have some kind of assistant that helps them find the chatbot. You can have a knowledge base that is all the information on your products, and it can ask back and forth and help them find products. So I'm not going to cover that within this video. We'll be here all day. We can run through here now. So if I say, where is my package? Jumps up here. Great. Please provide the order number. Okay, my order number is 1234. Great, now I'm going to check for information. Thanks, checking out. This won't be shown in the actual chat. It's just the debug mode shows you all the information. So we can turn this off up here and it won't appear. So your order's been shipped. It's excellent. Is there something else I can do for you? And so that's a quick walkthrough of an advanced or modern chatbot that uses an intent classifier loop. So every time we come back down to this, we're going to run through it, ask them, they can ask a question. Ideally, we can pick up on a specific thing that they're interested in doing. And then we have built out specific functions to deal with that interact with the business, that pull the data from different places and can do valuable things beyond just talking to them in this little bubble. So what we can actually do now is publish our chatbot. I can show you this. We can go publish. We'll call it V1, publish it. So now it's successfully published. We can embed the widget. So we can click on this. We have all of this information here, so we can go to the web chat section. It's going to actually help you do it here, but we're smart boys and girls, so we know what to do. So you can play around with the settings here. You can play around with the appearance, customization. I'll let you guys do all the fun stuff there, but there's a lot of things you can do in order to customize how it appears. Now I can copy this and do as I did before. Just give you a little example of what this looks like. I can come in here and add it to there, boot up the site. So when it comes to actually putting it on your client's site, you can just give them this code and they'll be able to add it on themselves. As we can see down here in the corner, we have the starting web chat. Hey, my name is Annabelle from Petmates. How can I help? I haven't customized this, as you can tell, but this is what your client will be able to have on their website. So we can remove the branding and things like this. Where is my order? Please write order number 1, 2, 3, 4. And there we go. Back to what we're just doing. So this is how you can put it onto a website. You can provide the client or whoever you're working with this particular little script. You can make all the customizations you want, and that's how you can actually deploy to a web chat. There's also another cool thing I want to show you briefly, and that is if we want to share it, we can go share the prototype. So when you're actually just working on this as a prototype and you want to show the client, you can open this link in a new tab. And here we have actually password protected if you want to do it. So you can add a password in here called Jerry's. And we can go Jerry's, view the prototype, and then we go, we're into the chat, and you can send this to clients to demo with. I love my... And there you go. So that's how to make the beginnings, or at least the foundations of an advanced customer support chatbot using intent. You can prototype it, you can send it over to a client with this, you can send them the script tag to add onto their website, all sorts of options here, but that is the web chat deployment for a advanced customer support chatbot. Now what we're going to be doing is jumping into a very, very similar example, but we're going to be deploying it to WhatsApp as well. So if we go back to the dashboard, now to get started with our WhatsApp staff training chatbot, we can go to the new assistant, we can type in staff training chatbot, we can go build an assistant and go next. And then when you select the channel, you need to select WhatsApp and language, English, whatever you want to do. This is going to ensure that we're setting it up on the WhatsApp channel. Once you click create, and when you've done that, you should see a blank canvas like this with the WhatsApp symbol at the top, knowing that you're in a WhatsApp deployment style chatbot. I've already got my one here. So the point of a staff training chatbot is to allow access to all of the relevant information and training documentation within a business, making that available through a sort of permissionless and around the clock access to this information. So whenever a employee or a contractor or something has a question about the business, instead of having to call up a manager and start off a whole communication string of emails or text or whatever it is, basically distracting the people higher up in the business from the important tasks they need to be doing. Instead, they're dealing with little small tasks all over here, and they're trying to answer questions for people who are in the ranks below them. So by centralizing all of this information into a custom knowledge chatbot, you can take it and give it access to them. In this case, we're going to be doing it through a WhatsApp chatbot, so that whenever, say, you have a contracting business and someone has an issue with something on site, what they can do is pull up the WhatsApp chat and actually ask a question, say, hey, what are you supposed to do when this happens? Or who's the person to contact if there's a leak in this building or something? So All of this information can be put into a chatbot. It can get everyone on the same page. And this can be a very cool thing to offer in terms of your automation package, in terms of this. And this can be a cool deliverable and particularly handy in specific industries. So it's not going to be amazing for all industries, but there's some specific areas where these kind of things can be very, very valuable. So I thought I'd include it in this video to show you another application for this chatbot technology and VoiceFlow in particular. Okay, so we're going to be starting with the basic customer support chatbot, and it actually uses the exact same loop as we've just done previously, which is a short little introduction about who the person is that you're talking to, and then it goes into this main AI loop. So this is the pure AI chatbot kind of style, and this is going to be answering from a knowledge base that we've created. In this case, I have it over here, training.docs. I can pull this up to give you a little bit of an idea. Again, I've just created this with ChatGPT, but in this case, you'd want to get as much information as you can on the business that you're working with, and really a comprehensive guide on how to be an employee at that company. In this particular case, we're talking about a solar company called Smith Solar. And this particular chatbot is a sales rep training chatbot. So when you onboard a new sales rep, this is going to have all of the information in it so that they want to know, okay, what's the voltage or what are the watts of our particular solar panel? What are the brand that we work with? What are our payment terms? Are there any special discounts that we can offer at the moment? So this kind of information can make it really accessible to these new sales reps and can bring them up to speed. And even with common objections and things like this. So this has a lot of information. I have early bird discounts, referral discounts, payment plan options, common objections and solutions, etc. CRM and lead processing, so what the sales rep should actually be doing. He or she can just say, hey, I've just closed a client. What am I supposed to do in the CRM? And it's going to tell them the exact steps you need to take. So you get the team all working on the exact same information and clearly going, doing the things you want them to do at the right time. So this document is, of course, probably the biggest and most important part. Spending your time making sure this document is A1 is going to be much more valuable than spending a ton of time building the chatbot out. So this basic loop will do the job for you in most cases, but we're going to add in a little bit of functionality just to make it a bit cooler. So you've got your document. Again, this is going to be available on my resource hub if you want to get it and follow along. I've added my data source here, I've uploaded it. And then what we have is the same loop as before. You can go back to the project we just did and copy and paste this in. And I've changed this around to being a guy called Angelo from Smith Solar Sales Rep Assistant. I'm here to help with any questions you have. What would you like to know? So I can just connect this up here, intro message, a main loop. And now again, a major part of any of these custom knowledge chatbots, when it looks so simple like this, there's usually a lot of complexity happening elsewhere. And in this case, it's happening on the training document and how that's structured and the information that is included in it. But then also we have the prompt as well. So we have the settings up here in a knowledge base. Maybe I'll change this over to Claude V1 for now. Temperature, I'm going to have it nice and low, max tokens, and then I've got this prompt here. This is going to be available in the resource hub. So if you want to make a sort of sales rep staff assistant chatbot, you can use this exact same prompt as well. And then we're going to be able to save that, come back and give this thing a spin. So we can say play from here. What discounts can I offer? And then we go, here are the discounts we can offer. Referral discounts, early bird discounts, payment plans, etc. What is a PPA? PPA is a power purchase agreement. So it's all working good. We've been able to ask it questions, escape to get out of there. The cool thing about this is that we can actually test it directly on WhatsApp, send this out as demos to clients. When you set up your app for the first time, it should have asked you a bit of information about where you might be interacting with this on WhatsApp. So I've already given it my number. So this option pops up here on the top right, and I can click test on WhatsApp. And just like that, the message has been sent to my number, and I can update it up here if I want to change it to a client's number. But if I go over to my WhatsApp here, now this can work on my phone or on my laptop. I'm just doing it here for ease of use. It's popped up, YT staff training is ready for you. So I can launch assistant, and then it's going to kick the chat off. What would you like to know? I'm Angelo. How do I use our CRM? Great. What is the best way to handle the cost objection? They are saying it's too expensive. And then we go able to chat to the chatbot within WhatsApp. Now this kind of WhatsApp deployment is good for testing and sending to clients for demos to approve. But when it comes to actually deploying it ready for production, you're going to want to get your client to set up a Twilio account and follow the steps here available on the documentation for VoiceFlow. So it's a bit different to actually get it up and running in a proper production sense, but it's fairly easy to set up with things like Twilio. You're going to need to be using your client's Twilio account for this. So just be sure to communicate that early on that this needs to be set up on theirs. And at the end, you're going to be able to connect the app that you've made to your WhatsApp business account that they're using. And then you're going to be able to deploy that and have this thing ready for production and ready for general use by the team. Now, in order to take this to an advanced chatbot, we're going to follow the same kind of process. But we're going to take an intent classifier and we're going to add a function in. In this case, I'm just going to do the one because I think you get the message. But we're going to be doing something a little bit cooler with what we're doing within that specific action. So we can start to make the same modifications as we did last time, which is to disconnect this. We can select this by holding shift and then selecting it all. We can move this guy away a little bit. And then we need to get an intent classifier going. So what would you like to know? We can go listen and we want to go choice. Now the special action or function that I want to build into this app is going to be a incident reporting. So this can be good for all sorts of sort of construction or any labor kind of businesses where there might be incidents to report. This can be very, very important for health and safety purposes and things like this. So I want to have a function where it's able to detect if they want to report an incident and then take them through a specific set of steps. And then we're going to do something with that incident data, and which is really cool. I'm going to show you in a second. So first off, we need to actually set up the intent for reporting an incident. So we need to click on the choice block we've added here, head over to create a new intent. I'm going to call this report incident, and you can say report incident, report an accident, report an issue, there's been an incident, I need to report an incident, etc. So I've got a couple here now. I can just generate 10 more, see what they give us. There's been an accident. Yep, that checks out. Report an issue, report an accident. I want to report a problem. Register an issue, document an accident, file a report, it's not a complaint, I need to report an incident. Sure. Okay, so we've got our intent set up with a very strong, excellent level of utterances. We can create that intent, and then we need to have the fallback option, which can be set up here. No match, we can add manually, and then we're going to add a path to this as well. So what we can do with the path is just send it over here. What we can do, actually, to save a little bit of time, is just head back over here and grab this, and we can drop this over here. We can delete these. So if there's no match, we can send it to the knowledge base, answer the user's question. Excellent. Then we're going to route this back around. Maybe put it down here. That's a bit easier to see. We need to delete this. So if it does trigger that report incident intent, then what we can do is add it up here. We're going to go report an incident. I hope you guys are starting to see the pattern here now. And then what we can do is take them through. Okay. What's the first thing when you say? Okay, first thing you might ask is this urgent? Is there an emergency or something like this? We can say, is there an emergency? Okay, is there an emergency? Now, as you can see on the listen side of things, there aren't actually buttons. Within the basic deployment of WhatsApp within VoiceFlow, you don't have access to buttons. You can do it on the advanced setup. There's a little bit of custom coding you need to do with a replit, so we don't actually have that option here, but we can still do a choice, and we can use natural language input to determine what they want. So path one, we can have this as a yes option, and then we're going to add another path as well. And these are built out of the box. So as you can see, we're just selecting an intent. VoiceFlow's obviously got a pretty good idea of what a no intent might be. So this isn't going to necessarily give them a button. It's just going to open the floor for us to say what we want. So if I just run it from here, actually, let's just set this up. This is the emergency 6. Okay, so if it's an emergency, please call 911 and get the help you need from the emergency services. We don't really want them chatting away on WhatsApp when there's an emergency, so they should be getting straight to the action. But if it's not an emergency, then we can say, okay, can you provide some info on what happened? Include the following: Brock's time of incident, where the incident occurred, 3, who was involved, and what happened. Okay, so we're asking them for a bit of information about the incident. With this info, okay, we can just test this out, make sure our intent is working correctly, and all this stuff up here is as well. What would you like to know? Report, and we need to train the assistant, my bad. When you add in new intents and utterances, you need to train it again, as I mentioned earlier. We just need to do one little thing here. Click on this, we can do actions, and we can go to intent. And in this case, we're going to be going, of course, to the report incident intent. So we can play this again, run test, report an incident. Is there an emergency? And we go, no, there's not. Great, so that's all working fine. We can play this again from here, hit the play button again. And because we've set up an intent, it doesn't need to be a strict match. So I can say sure, rather than yes. So that's because the VoiceFlow intent has a bunch of different options already built into it, and the AI has a good understanding of what is a sort of yes intent or a no intent. So we've got our non-button using routing here, so we can just provide natural language in and it's going to route it to the different places. Now we need to take in this input, collect it, capture, going to take in the information. We're going to save the entire user reply to the last utterance. Yep, that's all good with me. Next, we're going to use a set AI step to extract a bunch of information out of what they've just said, so they can provide a natural language thing. They can even use dictation and just say, hey, I was standing outside on the porch working on a project, and then Dan came along and this happened and he got a nail on his foot and this is the issue. So they can provide that all in sort of a jumbled mess of text. What we're going to use the AI to do is extract that information and put it into variables, and then we can use this variable for the cool next step that's coming up in a second. Extract entities. Okay, so I've done a little bit of prompting here. I'm looking to firstly extract the date and time. So you are an expert text extractor. Your job is to identify information within a body of text and pluck out the specific information for the entity you're looking for. Now, actually, I might just make this a system-wide prompt. Cut this out. So we can go to the prompt settings and add this as a system message. So all of these are going to be text extractors or information extractors. We need to turn the temperature way down. We don't need that many tokens at all. We don't overspend. And then what we're going to do is I've told it from the text provided, extract the date or time and provide it in the format day, month, year, etc. Use 24-hour time and assume that the year is 2023. We're going to save this to a new variable called date and time. We're going to create the variable, and then we're going to do the same thing but for the different entities. So for the text provided, extract any names mentioned. We're going to add this to a new variable called names, and then we're going to do it again, add another one. And then we have from the text provided, extract any locations, building names, or place names. We're going to call this locations, create a new variable. And what else do we have? What happened? For text provided, extract what the topic of the text is and identify what the incident was and what happened. Then we can call what happened. We can create the new variable, put the temperature way down, system prompt all ready to go. You're an expert text extractor, your job is to. So we just need to add this little bit at the bottom to each of them. So insert the variable, come down, pasting these into all of them. And then what we can do is actually preview it. So if I click back on here, preview. Now we can say at 12 p.m. on the 12th of August, I was at the barn and leaf with Barry B, and he slept on a bit of wood on the deck that was slippery and hurt his heady back. Okay, we can generate, see if we get the outputs we want. Okay, we've got a couple tweaks to make here. I wasn't too happy with it. I mean, what you need to start doing here is providing examples. So say you put an input and an output, then you can really dial in exactly how you want it to respond. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm not going to play around with it too much, but I think for now this will do the job. If I preview this, it's going to take us through all these different things. Okay, so it's got the date and time coming out. Names mentioned Barry B. Yeah, there's a little bit more prompting that can get rid of this stuff. So we just get the actual variable. We have the locations, building names, place names, topic, incident, what happened. Okay, so we've got the information out. Now we've got them saved to the variables. Now for the cool part, which is actually to take this information and push it over to a Google Sheet so that we can analyze or do something with all of this information weekly. Say we want to analyze all the incidents that happened in the past week. Okay, where are they happening most often? We can look through the spreadsheet, etc. So easy data collection on the employee side of things, and then it can be easy analysis of all these different things on the sort of management side and admin side. In order to get this information out of our chatbot over to a Google Sheet, we need to start to use automation platforms, which is one of the things I wanted to show you guys how to do within chatbots. So right now we're just going to quickly go through using one of the automation platforms that you can use and show you how to connect your chatbot to at least a Google Sheet, but the same principles applies where you can send the information over and then manipulate it on the automation side of things. So I'm not going to be covering the full in-depth of the automation platforms. I'm actually saving that for a future video. So if you want to know more about the sort of other side of this business model where you can build the chatbots, but also build the integrations and how it actually interacts with the business, be sure to subscribe to the channel because I have another big video coming on that to show you guys everything you need to know there. Now, first things first, we need to decide on what platform we're going to be using in order to create our automation. So in this case, we have Zapier, which is something that I've used quite a lot, but there's also make.com, which is something I've been getting recommended a lot by my community members, just purely on the cost basis. So it costs 8 times less, I think, to use Make. It is a little bit more complicated, but I believe it has a lot more depth. In this tutorial, I'm actually going to be signing up myself and trying out Make. I haven't used it much before, so you're kind of going to get to see me learning live alongside you. But we're going to set up, I'm sure it does the exact same functionality as Zapier. we're going to be using an automation within Make. Essentially, we can send the information up to Make, it's going to handle it, and we can tell it what to do with it and add it to a Google Sheet. So first things first, we need to actually create an account on Make. Link to sign up to Make is going to be in the description. I think I do have an affiliate link for that one as well. So again, if you want to support me in the channel, you can use that link. If not, the domain is make.com. It's not very hard to remember. So once we go over to make.com, we're going to sign up or sign in. We're going to log in here. Once you're in the Make dashboard here, we can head over to templates. Now I think we need to go webhook. We can click on webhook, and then here at the first one, add data to Google Sheet received via webhook. We can click on this. They've got a template ready for us to use, so we can click start guided setup. What you're going to do is create a new hook. We can click add. I'm going to call this incident reporting webhook. I can save this. Now it gives us this URL here, which we can copy to our clipboard, and then we can head back over to our voice flow. And now we need to drag out an API section, very similar to what we did in the last one, but we need to put a GET request here, I believe we're doing. Then we need to set this as a post request because we're going to be posting some information over to make.com. And then we need to add in our parameters. The information that we want to send has been all saved as variables from this extract entity step that we just did. So that was the point of extracting it all into different variables. Now we can go into the body, and we can start to go, what did we get out of this? We have the date and time, the names, the location, and what happened. So we can go date, and then we can go date, and then we can add another one. We can go names, we can go people, we can go names, then we can add another one. We can go, not people, but date, locations, we can go location, and then we can go, finally, we can go, what happened? What happened? And now we have all of that information packed up. We can send a request off to Make. We can hit the send request button. Let's go to names, Liam, location, Germany. What happened? Got rained on for 3 weeks, which is what it's been doing here. I don't know what's up with the German weather, but send the request, and we've got a 200 back, which means it should have gone through. Now we can head back over to make.com. Successfully determined. Great. That means it's received our information. We can go continue. Now we need to create the Google Sheet that's going to collect this information. So we can go over to Sheets here. I'm going to create a new sheet. We can call this incident reporting, and then we can do the same thing, date. So these are going to correspond to what you've set up on the voice flow side of things. So we have the date, the names, location, what happened. So now we have all of that. We can head back over to this. You need to connect your Google account. It'll prompt you to do that. Then you click on the spreadsheet ID, and we can go to, where is it? Incident reporting, which is popped up here, all nice. Sheet name, just sheet 1 is fine. Then we can go continue. Then you can click on this again, and now we can start to actually assign the values here. So the information we sent from VoiceFlow is going to appear here. So you can see all the different ones that we've sent in the body. So if you go back to this, all of these bits of data that we sent as the body of our post request has now popped up here for us to populate the different fields within our spreadsheet. So we have the date, can line up with date. We have the names, we can put as people. I've had a bit of a mismatch here. Location, location, of course. And this one, I take it, is going to be what happened. It hasn't come through yet. But yeah, that's all set up, and we can actually start to test this thing. So we can turn the schedule on, and now we should be able to ping this thing again, head back, send a request. You go to Liam, home, fun, send a request. Okay, and so to make sure this is running nonstop in the background, you need to turn your scheduling on. So you need to flip the switch here, and the setting should be immediately as the data arrives. Then you can head back to the home screen, and then we can see here, if we pop back over to our request, we can hit resend, and it's going to populate a new one here, and we can resend. It's going to populate a new one here. So this means every time we run a new request through this, it's going to process it, it's going to add it to the sheet, and then we can say a little bit of information back to the user. So if it succeeds, we can say text, thanks for submitting report. And if it fails, we can say failed, so please try again. Okay, so now we can actually give this thing a spin. Maybe we should do it on WhatsApp as well. Let's try to do that. So I can send a test on WhatsApp, report an incident. Okay, is there an emergency? No, there's not. Oh, this isn't formatted very well in WhatsApp. Might need to tweak that. But last on the 10th of August, James and I were walking in the corridor of C block, and the floor broke, which made us fall down and badly scrape our legs. So we've given the information, now it's going to process that, and hopefully we see, oh, there we go. We've got the information that's been put over to the sheet. Now, again, as I said, this needs to be a little bit more prompting done to make sure this is extracted, because All you need is the name sync, so you need to do a bit of few shot prompting is probably going to do the job here. Also for the date, it's struggling to get the date, so a little bit more prompting and information can help there. Then we get the C block. C block, yep. Topic, incident that happened. What happened? James and the writer were walking corridor C block. The floor broke, causing them to. Okay, so now we built an incident reporting feature into our chatbot where we're able to take some information from the user, process it, and extract some entities, albeit badly at this stage. I must admit, there is, as I said, there's many improvements you can make to that extraction. But for the sake of this video, I think it shows you the concept and you can feel free to make the edits you want on your own time. But we're able to use make.com to use a webhook and send data using a API call. And we're able to send information to make.com using a post request with the variables that we extracted. And then it's going to put that into a spreadsheet for us to analyze at a later date. Now, this is just one example. You can, of course, use this template of using make.com and sending information over and creating a spreadsheet for it and things like this. There's so many different things you could do with once the data is in make.com. I know there's a lot more flexibility there than with Zapier, at least. So you can manipulate the data however you want. You can send it to different parts of the business. But when it comes to the automation side, using platforms like Make, that deserves its own video. So at some point very soon, I'll be releasing that video on it as well. So if you want to cover this side of the information in terms of chatbot building and then also the automation side, be sure to subscribe to the channel because it's coming very soon. Okay, so with that feature added, and I think we're pretty happy with pulling an end to the staff training chatbot for now. We took it from a basic chatbot with just a loop. We are able to ask questions about the knowledge base. And now we've taken it to having an intent classifier and building in just one feature of many that you could potentially build out. This is again just to show you the potential of this kind of technology. And we've used for the first time connecting to an automation platform via a API call or a GET request, POST request. And we've sent information out of the chatbot so that we can manipulate and do cool things with it elsewhere. And we've shown you how to do a quick and dirty deployment to WhatsApp so that you can test it within a live environment and you can send this out to your client and get it tested and whatnot. So happy with this as it currently stands. Again, you can get this template available on the resource hub, which is going to be available in the description. So feel free to grab this, download it, import it to VoiceFlow. I think there's an import feature in this top left. On my resource hub, when you download this, there's also going to be a little video on how you can upload this. So once you download the file from my resource hub, you need to upload it so you can start using it. So there'll be a video on the resource hub for that. But for now, let's get into our final chatbot, which is on lead generation. Okay, now we can get onto our final chatbot, which is going to be a lead generation chatbot. I wanted to include this one to give you all a very broad range of different applications you can use chatbots for. So first off, we have customer support, which can handle a ton of different use cases. Then we have a staff training chatbot, which is a good example of deploying to WhatsApp. And then finally, we have this lead generation chatbot, which really can provide the most value to a business in a lot of cases if you set it up right. Now, it's important to understand the concept behind this and why we're doing it and how we're actually going to generate leads with a chatbot like this. So the idea behind this is we're going to create a chatbot that has specific knowledge within a specific industry. And with that specific knowledge, we're going to put it into a chatbot and make it freely available to people, be it through a website chatbot or on maybe a Facebook Messenger chatbot or even Instagram DM chatbot for a business. There's so many different places that you can put it, but the idea is that you have some interesting information that's specific to a user's problem, and you're going to allow them to get access to that information and basically speak to an expert on the topic. And they can ask their questions back and forth. Hey, maybe they're looking to buy something. Maybe they want to know more information about a certain area. You're going to give them access to that. But in exchange for giving that free information away, you are going to be dropping ad placements. And in this case, it's going to be lead captures throughout the conversation. Every 3 to 5 messages, we're going to be dropping our own lead capture method so that when they're mid-conversation, we can be pushing our own products. And really, the key thing here is that if someone is interacting with your specific chatbot for the business that you're working with, they are obviously very, very interested in what they have to sell or the information regarding the niche. They are a warm audience. They have shown interest and intent to get information and potentially be a customer to some kind of service provider in the niche. So your goal is to get the people on here, get them chatting back and forth with it, and then start to push them and say, hey, look, by the way, we're actually experts and we can help you with this. Or we have this resource that you can click through here to get it. Or you can book in a call with us and have a chat to us, etc. So that's the concept. In this case, we're going to be doing it on Solar. I've created with ChatGPT's help an ebook resource. I think this is a good way to go about it. If you create some kind of comprehensive ebook or specific knowledge and put it into a document. And in this way, we're going to chop it all up and put it into our knowledge base. And that's going to cover all the bases, and people are going to be able to ask questions about the solar ebook that I've created. And the solar ebook is specifically for single family homeowners who are interested in getting solar for their house. So the idea is that this Smith Solar fantasy company that I've created has this chatbot put on their website or maybe on their Instagram or something like this. And when people come on, they can chat to it and they're going to learn about how they can get solar for their home. And it's specifically for residential solar. and they get to ask questions about financing, about the best brands, about the best installers and things like this. And every couple of messages, we're going to be shooting in our own lead captures and things like that. So that's what we're doing here. You can see, firstly, the knowledge base, of course, is going to be the most important part of this at the beginning. Here is the knowledge base here. It is a massive ebook, decent sized thing that I've gone back and forth with ChatGPT to generate. And this includes things like why consider solar energy for your home, evaluating your solar potential, basically all the things that someone in this niche could ask about. We're going to have information in this and be able to provide value to them. So it's important to have the knowledge base as a sort of comprehensive package of information that is going to be specific and useful to the people who are going to be using it. So to get started, we need to head over to our new assistant button. We can type in lead gen, and we're going to build an AI assistant, of course. Once we're inside, first things first, we need to set up our knowledge base. I've already got things set up here, so I'll just delete that. Same sort of process. What we're going to do is go add data source. We're going to click on the doc. We're going to select our document. For these examples, we're just using one, but you can, of course, add a ton of information in here. This is just for simplicity of the tutorial. If you're doing the staff training chatbot, you can just cram that full of staff training resources. For this case, if you want a broad knowledge base on a specific niche, you can stuff it full of any documents that your client has. You do need to do a little bit of prepping, though, to make sure that it hasn't got a bunch of rubbish in it. But the idea is that you can put a ton of different ones in here. So in this case, I'm going to put my solar document in, give that a second to load in, and then we can go to our settings up here. As always, I'm going to be using Claude V1 here. Turn the temperature down a little bit. Max tokens can probably stay around there. And then we have the system prompt, which is very similar to the other ones. This is for a guy called Nick, who's our solar energy assistant AI. Your mission is to help single family homeowners understand everything about solar energy, enabling them to make the best decisions for their specific needs. And then we mention things about the context snippets that you're going to be provided with, etc. In instances where the query falls outside of your information or ability, you should guide homeowners to seek advice from a qualified professional. In such cases, direct them to Smith Solar's Speak to an Expert page with a clickable link using the markdown format like this. So this is going to be providing links to Smith Solar's Speak to an Expert page. I tried to make these lead gen chatbots kind of unaffiliated if possible, because there's nothing that puts a prospect off like instantly bragging about how good your business is. So in this case, you can tell I've said you're just a solar energy assistant AI. You're kind of just helping them. Your goal is to just help them get the information they need, not to be pushing products really hard. But then when it comes to speaking to an expert, you can gently sort of nudge them towards it, because we don't need the chatbot to be selling, because eventually we're going to have our own ad placements that are being put in there, and those will do the selling for us. So again, this prompt is going to be available on my resource hub if you haven't got it, and also the entire template for this chatbot going forward. So we can save that. We've got a knowledge base set up. And then we can head back. So this looks very similar to the prior ones we've done, just a little introduction. Hi, I'm Nick. I'm an expert on solar for single family homes. What would you like to know? And we're going to go through the same sort of process, which is to capture the user input, listen for capture, and then we're going to capture the entire user reply in the last utterance variable. And then we want to do a response AI block. Pop that here, connect this down here. Then we want to use the knowledge base, and we say, of course, answer users question, and we go last utterance. So we can preview this. If we go, what is the best way to finance solar? Based on the information provided, this is a common issue that you'll see with custom knowledge chatbots, which is they mention that you're providing them with information. This is an important thing for us to go over. Actually, I'm glad that this has come up. So it's saying based on the information provided, there are a few good options for financing your solar system. So we don't really want this AI to be saying, hey, I've been given a bunch of information. We just need it to speak as if it knows it. Like that's what it actually knows. So you can prompt the living hell out of this thing to try to get it to stop doing this. I believe I've already put it in twice. You must never refer to these snippets in your answers. All the info given, you should be repeated as your own knowledge. And then I do it at the end. Okay, so I've done a little bit of trimming on the knowledge base prompt here. I've added in, well, you must never refer to these snippets in your answer. I've also said, but you must never refer to this information directly in your answer. So maybe we can save this and try it again. It might actually be a voice flow related thing where they're injecting a little bit of prompting into it themselves when they're running their own knowledge base. So let's just give this a spin. It's the user's question, preview. What's the best way to finance solar? Let's see what it says. Okay, it's still doing it. We might need to get a little bit more strict on this guy. This is really strange. We can put it at the bottom here. You must never say things like based on the provided or similar. Never refer to the information. Write like you know all information yourself. So this is actually some good stuff for you guys to be seeing behind the scenes, because you're going to run into this a lot where it's not quite giving you the responses you want. Let's try it again. There we go. The best way to finance solar, and it just goes straight into it. So there's a little trick that you can do with prompting. It's sort of very, very cutting edge stuff that we've been working with on Morningside. I'm reading it out of some scientific papers, but there's a thing called getting lost in the middle when it comes to prompting, where depending on the size of your prompt, if it gets really, really big, the stuff in the middle actually gets kind of lost, and the instructions in the middle aren't noticed as much as the ones at the start and at the end. So as you can see, I added some stuff sort of in the middle there and it wasn't listening, but if you slam it at the bottom, it's definitely going to take a lot more notice of it. And that's a general rule with prompting as well, is that the longer the prompt gets, the more bloated it is, the more fluff you have within your prompt, the less notice it's going to take at the specific point. So if possible, make it direct, make it short. My one's very, very long here. I could definitely do some work to tidy that up, but it is quite a long process. It's literally like writing, like copywriting, or doing a really, really specific writing task and being very, very precise with your words. For the sake of spinning up quick things like this, I find this prompt does a good job, but when it comes to a specific client and you really want to dial this in, you should go back to the drawing board and pluck things out and very, very carefully lay out your goals for the chatbot and how you can instruct it on those things very, very carefully. And keeping in mind that the very first thing you mentioned in the prompt and the very last thing are going to be taken the most notice of, and the stuff in between may not be looked at as much. That's a little bit of extra sauce for you guys when you're doing your prompting. As we can see, that solved the issue for us here. So we've got this set up. Now we just need to reconnect this loop up to the top, and then we have a bit of a prototype. Let's run this test. Hi, I'm Nick. I'm an expert for solar and single family homes. How can I help you? I'm interested in solar, but am not sure about if it's worth it in the long run. Solar energy is absolutely worth it in the long run for most homeowners. Here are some key reasons why: environmental benefits, energy cost savings, etc. So this is quite a long answer, and as you can see, it's actually been cut off due to the token limit within the knowledge base. But this does look like a lot because we're doing it within the little skinny editor. But if you put this out onto the prototyping page, it would probably fill out a lot more and look a little bit better. You can add something at the end or at the top in order to prompt this thing into putting out shorter responses. So that's all good there. We've got a little prototype running. Maybe ask it one more thing. We say, what is a PPA? A power purchase agreement, or PPA, is a financing option for residential solar panels. Okay, great. Now you may be thinking this is just a custom knowledge chatbot. What's the difference between this and what we've just done? In a real business, if you're working with a real client and you wanted to prototype this, what you can do is include links into the knowledge base a lot more often, because this is a dummy business. We don't have the links to put in. But when you're working with a real client, you can include links to the checkout page or the book a call page, etc., or the kind of products that they have available and things like this, or even just a link to the page on About Us and about our services and why we're experts or something. Or you can even be doing blog posts and things like that. If you want to learn more about this specific side of solar for residential, there's a great article that we've found that kind of warms them up to the idea of working with Smith Solar. So in this case, when you're just running this basic one and we haven't got the sort of manual ad placements that we're going to set up in the advanced version, in your prompt you can say something like, you're supposed to help them to learn more about solar for residential homes. Your end goal is to help them come to a decision about whether they do or don't. In each of your answers where possible, try to point the user towards Smith Solar as being the ideal provider for their needs, that they can really help them to get what they want. And then as they go through the conversation, they ask about who's a good provider. They can say, hey, by the way, Smith Solar is pretty good. Here's the link to book in a call. Or, hey, I'm interested in figuring out more about installation costs. And they say, well, if you want to learn more about installation costs, Smith Solar actually stacks up very, very well against the competitors. We have very competitive pricings on this, this, and this. If you want to book in a call, or if you want to schedule a consultation, here's how you can do it. Okay, with the basic one out of the way, we can jump into the advanced one. Now, the first thing we need to do is set up some variables. You can click on the NLU model up the top here. Here you have drop downs for different entities, etc. What we want to do is add some variables in. You can click the plus button here. What we want is have messages sent. We can create the variable. As you can see, I've already made it, but I won't have that error for you. And then we also want to have router. Same sort of capitalization. You can have lowercase on the first word, and then each additional word is capitals after that at the first letter. We can create this. As you'll see, I've already created it. So you've got these two new variables. What we want to do is when we start off the chatbot here, we can put a set step in, and we want to set up variables, apply to the ad router. I want to set the ad router to be 1, and we're going to add another set. I want to set the messages sent to 0. Not always necessary to do this, but I do like to just make sure everything's set up at the start of every chatbot correctly. Okay, and the next step is to grab this JavaScript block and put it here. What we're going to do is go messages sent, and then just type space plus plus. This is going to add one message to the messages sent variable. So this is just a counter variable that's going to calculate the number of messages that we've sent. It's going to keep track. Every time we send a message, it's going to add one more. And then we need one more block just to test this thing out. So we can set a conditional if block here, which is going to be check for trigger number of messages. So it's going to say if the variable, which is the messages sent, if the number of messages sent is 3, then we're going to want to do something, and then we're going to have an else, which is a no match, so we can add a path. If this is not true, we're going to go back up here, and then we're going to come over here if it is true. So we can add a talk step. I'm just going to say add triggered. Okay, so you may be wondering what the hell is going on here. We've set up these two variables of ad router and the messages sent. Ad router is going to be the variable that manages what ads people see and when. And then the number of messages sent is just to check how many messages have come through, so that when it hits a certain number, in this case, we're going to make it every 3 messages. Then we're going to push an ad placement in and then continue the conversation. So we can run this and it should have the debug window on the side here. You can pull this out. Let me just get this thing out. And then we're going to be able to see our variables on the side here, which is very handy. Okay, so when we run this thing, we can watch our messages sent on the side panel here. Nick, hi Nick. Then we're going to see our messages sent increase by 1. Don't let this put you off. You haven't actually set up any buttons. This is actually just a setting in the guided navigation. So if you turn this off, you won't actually see those things. So this is going to stop and wait and give you buttons on the if step so you can really control it. So if we run this again, say hi Nick, and you see our messages sent will increase by 1. And our ad router is still set at 1. And we can go, what is your name? My name is Nick. I'm an expert in single family homes. What is solar? So the ad was triggered, which is because he sent the message. We've also sent ours. And so we sent ours, it added 1 to the message here, and then it sent his reply. And then I put it through this if conditional block again, and because we'd hit 3 messages, it sent us over to the ad router. So this is all working as expected. So now we have the opportunity to start to place ads in front of the user as they're going through. So now we're going to build out all of the content for that side of things. So what we're going to do is have 3 different ad placements. I'm going to plot them all out now. Each of them are going to start with a little JavaScript. So we can pop this JavaScript one here. Oh, I can just do it here. So we need to go messages sent equals 0. Then we need to go ad router equals, in this case, it's going to be 2. Don't worry too much, I'll explain this in a second. Paste this again. Rename this to add 1, add 2, add 3. So we're clear. And now this one needs to be the ad router set to 2, and this one needs to set the ad router to 3, and this one needs to set the ad router back to 1. So this is just the corresponding ad. So after we see the first ad, it's going to update the ad router variable, so it's going to route it to the second one. So it's basically just cycling through. Every time it shows an ad, it's going to change the ad that's going to be shown next. A little bit more logic on that is coming soon. Okay, to start off the first ad, which is going to be placing an ebook in front of them that they can download and in exchange for their email or their phone number. So we're going to have 3 different ads in this case. Here, I'll show you the complete version over here, which is going to be 1, an ebook that they can click through to and claim. Secondly, it's going to take them to a solar savings calculator, which is going to have a lead capture on it as well. And then finally, we have ad 3, which is just going to be a traditional lead capture. It's going to ask for their email or their phone number. Then we're going to take that phone number and email and put it onto a Google Sheet so that we can track them later and do things with them. So those are each of the ads. We need to add in our card first. There we go. This title is going to be Claim Your Free Ebook. We're going to browse this. I have a little image made for this that I whipped up, residential solar. So you can add all your own images in here. I'm going to provide these all on the resource hub as I've mentioned. So if you want to get any of these and follow along, you can. I'm going to add a description to this as well. So a little line under it. So this is going to pop up as a cool little card within the chatbot. And then we can go a button. We can say claim yours. So they can claim it for free is the idea. And then we want to open a URL. I'm going to do my liamotley.com. Then we're going to add in another card down here as we have done before. What else can I help you with? Generate. Let's get a couple of different versions of that. Anything else I can help you with? Yeah, sure, that sounds good. Yep. Generate more. And then what we're going to do is route from this link down here over to this. So this is going to be the home base. We can call this back to main loop as we've done before. Maybe give this a nice little color because I'm feeling happy. And then we can take this and send it back to our main loop again. So same sort of stuff we've done before, just this time with some cool extra features in it. We can pop this up here. Now we need to do ad number 2, which is also a card. So I can add a card in here, drop it below. I can add in the title. I can add in the subtitle. And then what I can do is browse this. I have it on my desktop here. Just a little picture of the calculator that they can use. And then I'm going to add a button as well. It's going to go to try free. Could be a good call to action here. And then we're going to open a URL. We have URL here. So this is a solar calculator by Google. Of course, you'll be using one that your client has. It's going to allow them to calculate something or some kind of tool that's going to capture the lead as well. So we have that there. And then we can link this bad boy back up here, same as before. And then we need to do our last ad placement, which is going to be a little bit different. What we're going to do is just add in a text block after this JavaScript block here. And we can paste this in. And then this is the message we want to send. Would you like one of our experts to get in touch with you? If so, what is your preferred contact method? And then what we can do is have some buttons, pop them down here, and we can have email, then we can add another button and say phone. Now you can also set up an intent here so that they can type in just natural language rather than a button. So you can add an intent here, which is email is fine, or do a bunch of different utterances on that so that it can identify that they're asking for email. Same thing with phone, like you could create your custom intent here. Create a new intent, do the same process that we've done before so that they can enter both by button and they can also enter by both typing in what they want to do as well. So we've got both of these set up and they're going to come up here. The email, we can put talk step. Phone, we can do the same thing. Text, please provide a valid email. Or maybe we generate 3 different versions of that. And then we go, please provide a valid phone number, generate one of those. Just adding a little bit of variation so that if people are going through this multiple times, it doesn't seem too repetitive. No harm really, they make it super easy, just a button click and that's it. Okay, so I've gone ahead a little bit just to make sure everything's planned out carefully for you guys. One thing we do need to add in here is to add another button saying, I'm okay, thanks. So this is basically the option for them to not give their information. So we're throwing this ad at them in their face and they can say, hey, no, I'm not interested. So there's buttons here. If we just run this from here, you can see, oh, it's untrained, but there's 3 buttons here now. So it's email, phone, and I'm okay, thanks. And I'm okay, thanks, we can take back to this back to main loop thing, and it's going to ask, well, what else can I help you with? And it takes us back. In order to get the entity extraction and lead capture working correctly, we need to come over here. We have this sort of same setup. We'll be asking for a valid phone number or an email. And then when we come over, we need to set up an entity. So in order to create a new entity, I should probably walk you through those steps. Click here. We need to add a new one called email. It's of type email. And then we can create this entity here. So it's going to capture the email. And then down here, we can do the same thing where we're going to create a new entity. And we're going to call this phone. And we're going to make it a phone number. And then we can create the entity there. And then now we should be good to come back through. Start this again. Need to train it, I believe. Yep. Okay, so we're just going to reset it from here. Run it. Let's go email. If I go, hi, my best email is liamotley@gmail.com, then it's going to pass through. So it's correctly extracting the email, I believe. If we pull the sidebar out, we can actually see. So yes, it has extracted the email correctly. Now we can try it again with the phone. If we come up here and click on the play button, start again from the top, we go by the phone route. We can go, okay, I need a valid phone number. Okay, let's go 301-332, and there we go. Actually, let's run this again. So the whole point of this entity extraction thing is to be able to not just provide the information that they want, they can actually include it in a larger message. So need to do that again, sorry. If we go along here, phone, I can say my best number is 303-8223-90. Okay, now it should be able to extract this phone number, and we can check. Phone, there we go, it's extracting it correctly. Now we just need to know what to do with the phone and the email. So we're going to be setting up the same sort of system with Make as we've done before. So what we can do is go to the templates again, back over on Make. We can go search up webhook, start a new webhook, yep, and then we have the Google Sheet. And there we go, we have add data to the Google Sheet for receive via webhook. Do the same thing, we can start a guided setup. In this case, I'm just going to add a new webhook. This is going to be lead YT. Save this, and then it's going to give us a link again. We can copy the address to the clipboard, head back over to VoiceFlow. We can click on our get request here. We can drop it in this, and then you can set up the parameters. So I've just done this a little bit ahead of time. We can add the parameters. So this is going to be email. This is going to be the email variable that we created. This is going to be, oh, we add another one. This one can be phone. Now in this lead capture, you'd probably want to get a first name and a last name, or at least just a name to attach to it. A very easy step to add in. You just put it before this section and just make it go. First you get the name, then you get the email, then you send it off to the webhook. So phone, and then we got phone, and then we need to capture. We don't need to capture anything. We're just looking to send the information off. So we have email and phone, we have the hook where we can paste in there, and then we can send the request. So we'll just put in the email, liam@mail.com, send request, and then 200 code means it's gone through, all good. We can hop over to Make, and then we see we've successfully determined it. We can continue. I've set up my Google account already, as we've done before. Now actually, just to save the sake of more sheets, I can add a new sheet down here and call this lead capture, and I can say email, phone. Obviously you want to enrich this more with that first name, last name, as I just said, but also you can take some of the information within the conversation. So you could do a little set AI task, and you could take all of the messages that have been said during the conversation so far and summarize them down, or even just pipe those straight over and send all of the transcript data from the conversation that the users had into this lead sheet as well. So this means you're going to have these first name, last name, email, phone maybe, then you're going to have a really enriched data set on what they've actually been asking to this bot. And based off those questions, you can very easily pass that over to the sales team or start off some personalized emails and things like this. So it's like really, really awesome stuff that you can do off the back of this. I've kept it basic within this, but I just sort of want to let you guys nudge you in the right direction, and you guys can go and sort of brainstorm on it. I will be doing some more advanced tutorials, so if you want to stick around for that, I'll be dropping them later, probably on the second channel at some point. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and keep an eye out for the second channel when it comes. And so I can pick the spreadsheet here, which was incident reporting. You guys should make the correct one, of course. Incident reporting. And then I can put it on the second tab of the sheet. I can go lead capture. I can continue. And then what I need to do is probably send another one over. If we go resend, come back. And then what we can do is click on the Google Sheet here. We can go, need to redetermine the data structure because I backed out of it, sorry. Look at searching for it, we just pop back over. You know the drill now, we can resend that. It's going to come back in here. And then we can continue, come over to Google Sheets, Google's reporting, okay. And then so you may need to hit the refresh button there as I just did. And then we can add the email to that, and we can add the phone to that as well. So you can continue there. I guess the test really is to run a proper query in here, and we can resend. In order to test that it's working, we can send the webhook, and then we can click run once. We can use the existing data, run this, and then we should have it pop over. Great. We can just test it one more time. I like to do this a couple of times if you can't tell. We can run this again using existing data. We're going to pop another one. And so then to make this lead capture work around the clock, I can turn the scheduling on, and then we can head back to the scenarios page, and we can watch the data come in. This one is still on. We can head back over here, resend, and it should pop up there. Great, okay, so it's working correctly. And now we need to actually test it with some real data. So if I go back here, click the play button, I want to do an email. I'm going to provide my email. My email is liam@gmail.com. And there we go, API call successfully triggered, path not connected, and boom, there we go. So it didn't have a phone, it's just returned it a 0, but we did have an email. So that's how you can get a lead capture set up within your VoiceFlow application, sending over to a Google Sheet. And now, I mean, the interesting part about this is that as soon as you've got the information into your make scenario here, you can do so many different things with it. You've got this big editor, you can start to add in all these different flow controls, all these different tools. The cool thing is that Google Sheets isn't the be all end all. Once you have this information in Make, essentially, you've got the webhook data. You can start to manipulate it in all sorts of ways and really connect it to different parts of the business. So I'll leave that open to you guys, as I said before. This is the really cool stuff once you get a chatbot as a data source, and you can start to build stuff off the back of it, which is what I really love doing. So the final steps here is that if it's a success, get out of this editor, escape. What we can do is click on this, drop it here. Add action, we want to go to a block, and then we can go to the back to home. So after it's successfully completed, we're going to send it back to home. If it fails, we can come down here and say failed, and then we can just end here. So you can walk this off and then just go to end, actions, end. So that's how you can just end the conversation if something goes wrong. But now the key part here is that we've got all of the ads set up. We've got the lead capture. We've got this main block as well. Now we just need to do the ad router. Every time we hit 3 messages, we are going to be sent over to this ad router. So the ad triggered is just being sent at the moment. What we want to do is handle a bit of logic here. So this is a multi-step process where we're going to go if condition up here. See if we can sneak this guy in. Can delete this. Maybe I'll leave it there for now, actually, just for debugging sake. And we can say if the variable ad router is 1, then we're going to go to block, and we can go to add 1, and then we can do a no match. So this is an else block. So if this is not met, then we can add a path, and then I want to go down here. We want to do the same sort of thing. We just create a logic step, a if condition. Actually, I might just copy this thing, paste it in here, and delete this guy on here. Add router. Then we're going to go if add router is equal to 2, then we're going to go to add 2. Even that doesn't work. We're going to send it down to here. So if add router is equal to 3, then we're going to do something here. No match, we can just send to go here. We can say something like text, add router failed. And we can just leave them down there. And then we need to change this to 3, add router 3. So if this is semi-confusing, basically as soon as it comes in, we have 3 different ads, and we have this toggle, which is a variable that we're going to be editing every time we go through an ad. So when the conversation starts, we're going to have the ad router set to 1 as we do here. So set ad router to equal to 1. That means that the first ad that's going to be shown when we hit 3 messages, which is checked for here, is going to be sent up to the ad router. Then we're going to check what the value of the ad router is. If it's 1, then we're going to go to add 1. And then if we go to add 1, we're going to update the ad router to 2. Then they're going to show them the ad. We're going to send them back to the main loop where they can continue to chat. But we're also setting the messages back to 0. so that when you get up to 3 messages being sent again, it then goes through the ad router, but this time the ad router variable is set to 2. And so it comes through here. If the ad router is set to 1, okay, it's not set to 1, else we're going to go to the no match. Comes down here, we go to the ad router 2, and then it's going, okay, this checks out. We have an ad router value of 2. Then we're going to go to add 2 and so on. And the add 2 is going to set the ad router to 3, and it's just going to be this continual process. And here we have on the lead capture, the ad router is set back to 1. So we're counting the number of messages. We are sending to the ad router to check which ad we should be showing. And then we're going to be updating the ad router variable so that we're changing the ad that's shown each time. Now, I believe we are in a position where we can actually run this bad boy and check it out in action and wrap this thing up. So if we need to train anything more, no. Hi, I'm Nick. What would I like to know? It's just, hi, Nick. Sorry, the answers are quicker if I'm not asking him a big fancy question. There we go, it's giving me a big answer. Ad triggered, boom. And then we get the first ad, so now I can claim my thing, and it's going to take me to your man here. And then I've clicked this button, it's claim your, and it's going to take me back, oh, that should be claim yours. Now it's taking me back to the main loop, and it's put me back here, and you can see the ad router is now set to 2. The messages are seen set back to 1 by this little bit of JavaScript up here. And then we can continue to chat to it. What are my financing options? Now the quality of these responses is going to highly depend on, of course, your knowledge base. So here, take this with a grain of salt. This is ChatGPT generated. This isn't some secret source of the industry. So keep in mind that this is not the optimal, and this is definitely not what it's going to look like in practice. Again, he's given me a big chat about how the financing options are available. Then we can ask him again, hi Nick. Let's just keep him going and show some of these other ads. Hi Nick. Maybe I turn the debugging off so it's not bugging you guys. Ad triggered, boom. Take us to the calculator. There we go, we can capture the lead again. Let me say, hi Nick. Again, just using hi Nick just to get through this conversation a bit quicker so I'm not sitting here for half an hour. Hi Nick, hi Nick. And then ad triggered, blammo. So if we hit okay, thanks, it's going to take us back to the main loop. But if we click on email, I can go, my best email is liam at liam.com. And then bam, we've executed this, and ideally, Liam at liam.com, we've captured the lead as well. And then ideally we can put some kind of column in here, which is like transcript. And we've also got a whole bunch of data on what the user's been asking about that we can use for personalized communications. We can even get the transcript and put it through a little AI function and get it to classify it into different types. So what kind of customer is this? What kind of category within our business and our kind of prospect and database could he fit into? Okay, let's put him to this team who's very good with this, like a business clients. Really, really cool stuff you can do as soon as you're putting the transcript in here, and then you can go back to make and you can run AI features on it and all sorts of things. So that's the really cool stuff. Chatbots may seem a little bit stale, but once you're actually providing real value to these businesses by collecting this information and then doing something valuable with it, that's what this thing's all about, really. So that's what we're trying to work you towards. But that's been the advanced lead generation bot. I hope you've understood how this thing is working. You can take this template and swap out the different ads that you're using. You can adjust the knowledge base. You can change the lead capture to be a bit more extensive, asking for more information, etc. But this is the gist of it. Now, we can share the prototype if I just pop this over here. But we can also, as I mentioned before, let's get out of the designer here. We can publish it. I'm going to call this V1. I have the YT lead thing. So, hi, I'm Nick. Hey, Nick. Why is solar good for residential homeowners? And there we go. So it seems a little bit better once we've got a wider chatbot window to look at this in. Again, quality of the information probably not great because I've used it generated ChatGPT to create the ebook itself. But that gives you an idea of how you could see it on a full screen, share it with some clients, etc. And then what we want to do is embed this widget so I can show you it on a web page. If I just pop back over to this, take the script tag out, save it, I can run this up again. And then we have it down here. Here we have Nick. Hi, Nick. We can take a look at some of the ads in here, actually. Let's see what they look like once you're on a web page. Hi, Nick. Heck, Nick. Hi, Nick. Ad triggered. Claim your free ebook. There we go. So what you do actually is remove this ad triggered now that we know that it is triggering correctly. So you can come back over here, etc. Pop back to the designer and you can remove this ad trigger. In that case, you could redeploy, etc. One thing I also wanted to point out that's outside of the scope of this video is that you can take all of the awesome functionality that you build on VoiceFlow like this, and you can use their dialogue API, which I'm showing on screen here. You can sort of custom code this a little bit, but you can create an amazing lead generation chatbot that the back end, really, the functionality of it and how it's supposed to work and using all these AI features. And then you can plug that into a custom front end. So if you want to create a cool lead generation website or something for one of your clients, you could create a new web page and you could stick this on and create your own custom UI and really bake it into a custom site. So you use voice flow is the back end and the logic, but then you can create some really, really cool front end and dress this lead generation chatbot up to feel more than just a little web chatty thing in the corner. So I'll leave that with you there. I might come circle back and cover it in a later video, maybe on the second channel when that's all set up and running. But I just thought I'd drop that in there. And there's also a knowledge base API, so you can query your knowledge base and not necessarily use it how they've set it up in the no-coding way. You can actually call the knowledge base and pull chunks back and have a lot more control over it. So that's it for the bot building, guys. We've really put a lot of rubber on the road here. I hope you guys have hung in there and made a good effort of this. Well, as I said, all of the templates are going to be available on my resource hub in the description. So if you want to click through to that, you can sign up. It's free. You're going to get access to all of these different templates to download, plug and play, and use them how you like. And with that, everyone, we've finished the chatbot building section of this course. We've gone through 3 different prototyping methods, so you have all the tools you need there to spin up something quick and really demo it. We've gone through 6 different examples of chatbots: a basic customer support, an advanced customer support, a basic WhatsApp staff training chatbot, and an advanced one. And we've also done a basic and an advanced lead generation chatbot. So I really think we've covered a lot of ground here. And now that you know everything under the sun about how to build chatbots, the only thing left to cover for you all in this video is how can you actually start to sell these to businesses. Luckily, you've been listening to and learning from the right guy here. I do this every single day in my own businesses. I run an AI automation agency, which is a business model that I created. As I mentioned, we've been over it a little bit before in the video, but I want to give you a little bit more information on it now and exactly what it does and how you can start to take the skills that you've created and begin to start selling packages of AI automation services beyond just a little chatbot and going over to really a valuable package of deliverables for a specific niche. So what is an AI automation agency? Well, the official definition is this. The AI automation agency model is an online business model focused on helping small to medium-sized businesses to automate their systems and processes with AI technology. So the beautiful thing about you making it to the end of this video is that you've just learned basically half of the skill set in terms of delivering services for this. What you need to do is combine chatbot building skills with automation platforms like we've been using with Make today and Zapier and things like that. Our job as AI automation agency owners is to help businesses to adopt this new technology and really benefit from the huge gains that they can provide. So if that means to apply some of these chatbots to their businesses as new data collection points, connecting that to different parts of their businesses, finding repetitive tasks that are being done by their staff members and automating those processes and systems as well. The bedrock that this business lies on is your ability to connect and draw a direct line, as I say on screen here, to draw a direct line between the product you create and the money that they're able to save or the revenue they're able to increase. So it's no rocket science, there's nothing crazy here. You are supposed to identify a part of their business that you can improve or automate, and you can draw a direct line from, hey, this is how many hours someone is going to be spending on this kind of thing per month based on what you've told me. I can cut this down to 1/5 of that, and you're going to be saving this much money. So that is where you can really start to tap into providing value as an AI automation agency owner. And the key to getting started and really finding success, what I've found from my own experience and from working with my students, I have an Original 8 incubator program that I'm doing for free at the moment. And I've also got 23,000 people in the Discord as well that I'm working with on sort of a more distance basis. But the key is that we've found is to focus on one niche. Say you become the AI automation expert for real estate agents, or you can become the AI automation expert for construction firms and things like this. You focus on building out a package of things that people in this industry, you know, typically they're going to need and their business could benefit from. And then you're able to package this up as sort of a bundle and start to offer this. And this might include chatbots, it might include automation systems as we've been going through here as well. But the key is to get to that point where you're able to have sort of a nice set of things that you can go and be the expert at automating businesses within a particular niche. So if you're interested in learning more about how to start and build your own AI automation agency, you're in the right place because I've got a ton of videos on my channel about this specific topic. This is really all we're focusing on right now. So if you want to be able to take your AI chatbot skills that you've got now and convert that over into building a valuable and sustainable business within AI, then this is your ticket. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I have a 2-hour full course on how to start an AI automation agency. So if you've got all your chatbot skills from this video, you are in the perfect position to head over to that video and soak all that information up and start building these things and making money. So if you want to get any more resources, first of all, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please leave a like down there. It would mean the world to me. I put so much work into this video for you guys. And if you want to join the biggest community of AI automation agency owners and really bright sparks in AI at the moment, feel free to join my Discord. It's a free community. We also have the paid one releasing soon, as I've mentioned earlier in the video. So if you want to sign up to the free one, you can get in there now. If you want to join the wait list for the premium one, which is releasing soon, you can find the link in the description as well. If you're watching this video a bit later, it's probably going to be available to get into the premium already, unless we are full again, and then you might have to wait a little bit to get in on the next batch. But in that case, you can also sign up to my resource hub if you haven't already, with all the resources that I mentioned and a ton of other ones on chatbots I've built and things to do with AI automation agencies too. And finally, you can sign up to my AI automation agency newsletter called Over the Shoulder, where I'm giving you weekly tips and tricks and sort of access to my personal notepad. You're looking over the shoulder on the notes and the things that I'm picking up each week when I'm running my AI businesses, when I'm working with all of my students. So I'm giving all of that special sauce directly to my newsletter every week, and people are loving it. So that is all for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and congratulations if you made it this far. I think it's a testament to who you are as a person that you've been able to stick with this. I'm sure you've got a notebook full of notes and you're ready to really attack this opportunity, because it is such a huge opportunity for all of us right now who are ready to put in the work. So that's all for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.